Florabella on my screen. Her smile, it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene. In the morning or the night, recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. Every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong.
Battles got power, Florabella stands tall. Every drip, every drop, watch the haters fall. Channel sharp as thorns, ain't taking no mess. Scroll through her feed, feel that queen's finesse. Vines tangle tight, but Flora breaks free. Roots so deep, can't mess with her tree. From the mud she rises, roses from the dirt. Every comment section she lays down hurt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. From the garden green to the concrete wall, Florabella, unstoppable nature's child. Leaves whisper secrets, she's the loudest shout. From the channel buzzing, she never backs out. Seed of strength, through seasons she grows. In the face of doubt, her spirit glows. Cameras ain't a limit, she branches out. Thorns in her crown, she wears it no doubt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless.
Please talk to someone else, cause I can't talk to broke boy. I can't talk to broke boy. I can't talk to broke boys. I can't talk to broke boy. I can't talk to broke boy. No, I can't talk to broke boy. I can't talk to. That nigga's crazy. Hopping in, bitch, and I saw it to be. Snakes in the grass, so they harder to see. My brother would give up his life to the O. He told me he'd go be a martyr for me. Said that she ready to come to the 6. I hit up Pauline and charter the P. Ain't really leave, but I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm right. riding around in Atlanta was sad, cause that nigga been going harder than me. Nothing to change, I'm just harder to please. Ferrari is making an SUV. We ain't got a choice, we ordering these. Shout out Noel for recording the V's. He know where this shit about to go, cause nobody touching the flow. They say you alone at the top, but it's gotta be lonely below. You was getting ready to diss, but don't even mention a hoe, and don't even mention a foe, unless you was trying to go broke.
Whoa, I got more stripes than Adidas.
Yeah, I got the stripes to fuck.
I don't chase bitches, I leave them.
You don't screaming like I'm just.
I don't get mad, I get even.
Treat you niggas like a puzzle.
I don't get mad, I get even.
Treat you niggas, then you.
Whoa, all that foundation she wearing, she thinks she QC. Telling I might sneaky link you with me. You must be Coach K, cause you ain't P. I'm on the jet like my last name Lee. 2 sticks in my hand like I'm playing a Wii. G-Block babies will spank you for free. We rough niggas up, now they begging for peace.
Baby.
Stepping on shit out in French in my toe. One in October, I'm so OVO. Halloween coming, he wanna dress up, but he don't need no costume, I'm turning on ghosts. She caught me mute cause I stay in her throat. Still hit that boy, got his ass hitting notes. My niggas were man,
So you know where this shit about to go, cause nobody touching the flow. They say you alone at the top, but it's gotta be lonely below. You was getting ready to diss, but don't even mention a hoe, and don't even mention a foe, unless you was trying to go broke. Oh damn, man, you niggas is the worst. Savage snatch you out your crib, then drop you in a hearse, baby, please.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm back for another show. As you see tonight, we're going to be actually reviewing this book and all the terminology in it that has caused quite a stir, right? Mammy DSM is a newly published book by Miss Nyla, aka Nicole Allen. Like I mentioned, this is a published book. She is an author now. And I'm very excited that I was one of the first people to be able to read, see this book, get access to it, do a little bit of review, because I knew it was going to be in-depth and thorough, just like, we're all expecting. Thank you, Empress. I'm glad you like my music. I like the music too. I like AI music. I'm glad I was introduced to that. Hey, Miss Joanne. So, obviously my channel has kind of pivoted to crime and things like that. So I just want to make sure people understand that the idea of a mammy and the Mammy DSM very much intersects with crime, right? A lot of the attitudes and belief systems of the mammy put women in direct harm and danger, right? But one thing that I realized that was missing from my presentation and discussion on this subject was the historical context, right? Every time I use the terminology mammy, people who refuse to understand the evolution of words and culture and what words mean in a given culture, right? They act like the term mammy or the idea of a mammy today is the same idea that was historically known, right? And we're going to get into all of that. Excuse me, guys. My allergies are acting a tiny bit up. I think it's because the weather is, the weather is all over the place. One day it's 90, then it's 70, and then it's 90 again. So that being said, I'm going to get into the historical context on this subject. We're going to get into all of it. I have a whole presentation for you today because we're going to really get in depth, right? There's not going to be really a lot of space and energy open and available for people to gaslight the meaning of mammy today, right? We drive the culture. Culturally, as Black people in America, we change the culture, right? So if we believe that mammy has evolved into something else that ultimately leads to the detriment of Black people, Black women, Black girls, Black families, right? Then it's still, we just found a new meaning for the word, right? And we get to change the meaning of words, and people aren't going to bully us into not doing that, right? Nowadays, yes, white people, blah, 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 the system, blah, 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 right? But there's a lot of things that we are doing internally that is causing damage to Black families, Black women, Black children, right? The important things, the things that used to be important back in the day, right? And a lot of it does intersect with crime, like I mentioned. There's a few cases that I'm going to touch on, But we're going to start with the historical context, because I don't want anybody to come back after this video that I'm doing and tell me that I'm using Mammy in a historically negative way, right? Obviously, things need to be laid out, and I'm glad this book exists, because I do think the mindset and the terminology is changing before our eyes. I think a lot of Black women have evolved their thinking, and they don't see the idea of a mammy the same way anymore, right? They have started to understand what a male-identified woman is, right? And that all plays into the self-sacrificing woman, which is discussed in this book. All right, so we're going to get into it. Just give me a couple of seconds to pull everything together. And we're going to start with the historical context, right? Obviously, when we get into the book and what this book is telling us about the new terminology of mammy, I'm going to provide you guys with direct quotes from the book. So everything that I'm quoting today is coming directly from the author, Ms. Nicole Allen. So make sure you guys check out the book. I am also in my description box going to add the link for the digital copy and for the paper book, like the paperback copy that's autographed. So I'm going to add those to the description, because I do think we should support people who are doing grassroots work, activism, actively trying to reprogram Black people. I believe in all that. So I'm going to add those links. Just check for it. By the end of the video, it will definitely be in there. I have an email that has everything that I wanted to link, and I'm trying to find that. So actually, it's right here. So I'm going to link that in the description so that you guys can reach out and see this legitimately published book, right? Because I know a lot of people don't know a lot about publishing and what people go through to publish books, right? Like that's a serious process. It requires a lot of work. It also requires for a person to make their materials to some degree, professional, accurate, things like that. People don't, yes, nowadays anybody can put out a book, right? But I think that when a person puts effort and validity into their materials, they provide you with sources, they break it down for you, then, I feel like they're worthy of being celebrated as an author. Not anybody could just write a book and actually it be good. So that's an important thing. All right, so I'm going to add the links to the description box for you guys to go ahead and grab the Mammy DSM and the autographed copy if you're interested. All right, so let us get into the first video that we're going to be looking at. All right, so the first video that I want us to look at is going to give you a breakdown of the original term. Sorry guys. The original term of the mammy. All right, there's a lot of different perspectives on what a mammy is, where the archetype came from, and all of that. So I have a few short clips that we're going to look at, and then we're going to look at what some people, even in recent years, are calling mammies. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, all that. I'll appreciate it. If you guys enjoy the content today, feel free to support the channel, join the membership for exclusive content and all that. All right, so we'll start with this description of Hattie McDaniel. She's actually a very popular figure. She played several mammy characters, but she's specifically known for being a very popular mammy in that movie. I forget the name of it. Is it a new something? No, I forget. Anyways, they're going to talk about it, but she was a very popular actress who played a mammy. Okay, so let's get into it.
Beloved figure in white America, she still wasn't seen as good enough to share a table with her white co-workers. When she won her Academy Award for Gone with the Wind in 1940, she wasn't sitting with the rest of the cast. She was only allowed in as a favor and had to sit at a segregated table. And after the event, her white co-stars went to a no blacks club where she was denied entry. On top of that, she drew heavy criticism from the Black community for perpetuating the mammy caricature. But to me, the fact that Hattie McDaniel accepted to play play The Mammy captures how at the time black women were forced into subservient positions in order to survive. And it's also a testament to the caricature's popularity. You see, although the Mammy trope was born from the imagination of enslavers, it was mainstream during and after the Jim Crow era as a result of the fledgling advertising industry and the fact that black Americans increasingly demanded equal rights. This racist imagery was used to sell almost anything. Ultimately, the Mammy caricature was a product of white supremacy and then later used as a tool to legitimize racist hierarchies.
Here, hopefully this is a historical fact for the people who tried to gaslight me, for one, right? Hey Gito, thanks for joining me today. I don't know what Hunter is up to over there, but thank you. Oh, Gone with the Wind. Yep, that's the name of the movie. She was a very, very popular actress at the time, but obviously, there was a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes. But this idea of a mammy, right, that people try to say, oh, it's a person who chose the white people's side. No, a mammy was a created caricature, right? Hattie McDaniel is not black women, right? Hattie McDaniel is not black women with degrees. Hattie McDaniel isn't black women who get high-paying jobs or who become CEOs, right? Hattie McDaniel was simply one woman, right, who did what she needed to do to survive. Being an actress at the time paid her bills. She probably lived a highly successful life compared to her peers, her black peers at the time, right? So again, a lot of people will go back to the word mammy and get triggered when they hear it in conversations, but the idea of a mammy was completely fabricated. There is no historical record of a black woman choosing to take on the wants and, not the wants, but like the struggles and the day-to-day of white people. If black women were working amongst white families as maids or whatever, it was because of what they needed to do to survive. Those were the careers that were available and open to black women. Oh, I'm sorry, Black Beauty. I did schedule them both, so it was there. I didn't talk about it in the other stream because the other stream was specifically crime. And I know sometimes when I start doing my topics, people are like, where's the body cam? So I don't, try to not to intersect, but yes, I'm back. But yeah, Hattie went through so much, right? Hattie went through way, way too much. And I'm going to show you some other misinterpretations of what a mammy is and how actually the idea of a mammy is how a lot of people punish black women for being enslaved, right? For having to work these jobs to survive, right? To try to put food on their families' tables, right? Because despite what slavery tried to do to black people and black families, black women still believed that it was their duty to pull in and help support the family. That's what they were doing, right? And it's not because they didn't, it's not because they didn't want to let the men leave. It's because that's what their families needed. Them and their husbands were being discriminated against very regularly. So again, we're putting this idea of like, oh, black women chose to go work for black families. They had no choice, right? If they wanted to feed their families, if they wanted to survive, they had to work these jobs. They had to work, period. Right? That's why a lot of black women get annoyed when we talk about, oh, black women emasculating black men by going to work. Black women never had a moment where they couldn't work, right? Because on the plantation, when their job was to birth children, their job was also to pluck the fields, right? Because until those children that they made were ready to pluck the fields, they would be the ones doing it. There was never a time where black women knowingly chose the oppressor, right, against her own black people. Now, we're going to listen to some videos of what I would classify as a modern day mammy, calling black women who choose to have careers, education, and standards modern day mammies. All right, it's all backwards. We're all over the place. But the truth is, the mammy was never real, right? Even Hattie McDaniel did not ever live in a time or place when this is how black women actually acted or their real experiences. All right, so let's get out of this video and move on to the next one. All right, this is obviously coming from a bandit. So, we can't take it too seriously. But this is a bandit's interpretation of the mammy, right? Because of course they talk about being indoctrinated by the white man, yet the white man can very easily tell them, hey, there were black women that chose us and our families and to raise our children, and they did it happily. And even though that never happened, black men will side with that and believe, yes, black women at some point they betrayed black people by choosing the white man and their families and siding with the white man. All right, let's get into it.
You have the mammy or the old auntie. She was the complement to the old uncle, a disciplinarian, but like a mother, she offered warmth and love. She didn't want to leave the plantation and be free. Her life was about acting as a surrogate mother for white children. She wore a scarf on her head and a big dress with an apron. Hattie McDaniel played the famous mammy character Ruth in Gone with the Wind. This character became a cultural icon and made its way onto commercial goods like washing powder, liquid soap, and pancakes. Next, you have the mammy or the old auntie.
So this is where a lack of a brain doesn't, like, this is where not having critical thinking kind of seeps in, right? Because the reason why it went from a popular cultural context, because white people like this idea, right? This idea that this mammy took on the raising of white children and really cared more about white children than her own family. When we know historically, right, that the reason why Hattie McDaniel and other black women had to play roles like this was because there was no opportunities, right? There was a paycheck at the end of this. Hattie McDaniel didn't just go there and tap dance for white folk. She took that money and she provided for herself and her family, like many black women were already doing with their bodies on the plantation, right? But it sucks because when you hear these interpretations, you start to wonder, like, are we really turning against black women? Is that what was happening kind of culturally in modern black culture? We're turning against black women and the struggles that they had post-slavery in the antebellum period, which is what they're talking about and all these things. I mean, it comes across really stupid and insensitive and like not smart, right? Because the people who are benefiting from soap, pancakes, deodorant, it wasn't black people. Those were white corporations who were using an image that they sold and made even black men believe that black women turned their backs against black people by choosing to work and help provide for their families. It was necessary. There was no other choice, right? It's how food was put on the table. But somehow we've turned against black women who are suffering at this time. Right now, we're not even going through this. Nobody's enslaving us right now, right? Nobody's putting us through the ringer. We might still have and suffer from systemic racism, right? But nobody's chaining us up. Nobody is forcing us to treat each other poorly, right? We're living in a much different world because these women chose to work and provide for their families. And yes, we were abused and treated poorly along the way, and that led to generational curses. But for us to sit here and try to act like black women doing what they did at the time was a betrayal to black people, it is asinine, just really, just crazy. And yeah, they did have to make the choice between job and family, but that also meant the choice between life and death, bills paid or no bills paid, food on the table or no food on the table, right? That's what they were up against. I don't think they were choosing a white family over their own family. They were just doing their best. Exactly, just like many women today have to do their best, right? Many women today have to take on the role of caregiver and provider, right? They have to nurture their children, and they also have to put food on the table. That's why it bothers me when we have these stupid conversations about femininity and talk about white schools and all this stupidity. I mean, are we seriously not acting like women have been taking on extra roles because the survival of people has been dependent on women taking on these roles? If women didn't take on these multiple jobs, those kids weren't eating. The lights weren't going to stay on. They weren't going to live in those neighborhoods, right? A lot of black women worked, right? Worked these jobs as nannies or housemaids or wet nurses to put food on their table. And yes, it was a high paying job at the time, Empress, right? It was designed to be that way, right? We need you to do what you're supposed to do for your family. So we're going to pay you a lot of money to do it. And essentially, black women made the choice for their families. But today, somehow we want to rewrite that, right? As black women choosing the white man. This is the ignorance that I hear about this conversation. All right, let's continue though.
She was the complement to the old uncle, a disciplinarian, but like a mother, she offered warmth and love. She didn't want to leave the plantation and be free. Her life was about acting as a surrogate mother for white.
Like, do you hear that? This is insane. Mind you, the black men at the time didn't have and I'm not saying this to be rude, but they did not have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, right? They needed their women to work. Their women needed to provide something, right? That was literally made by the system, right? The system forced black women to always have to be out of the home, never be able to nurture their children directly, right? But that was not a betrayal. The fact that it's framed as a betrayal is insane to me. And like, he makes it sound like this is something black women want to do. So you go and you watch a minstrel show movie, and because there's a black character, you believe this is really how it was. I mean, that's insane to demonize Hattie McDaniel like this. Audrey says, yeah, I totally get it. I couldn't retire. I had to leave early. Never got child support. Watered down milk. Yeah, you know, Audrey, and that's the thing. I don't understand how men can see the sacrifices that women make to keep their children alive, to keep their families afloat. Black women, so many black women do it by themselves. Raise families, children, sons, daughters, women who go to college, who break curses on their own. And they would have you believe that because you took on the role of raising your children and putting food on your table and working, that you did something wrong, that you chose the white man, right? By getting an education, you chose the white man. By getting a 9-to-5, you chose the white man. Right? That's a lot of how this is being framed, because even if Hattie McDaniel was some black women, right? Those black women weren't doing it out of want. They were doing it out of necessity. And they continue to make the sacrifices they make, getting education, working longer hours, becoming more skilled workers to put more money in their pockets. They do that out of necessity. And it just is what it is. We can't frame that into betrayal. Like, and this is why I bring it back to Mammy, because how can you even frame a woman choosing to work so that her family has food, clothes, be able to go to school? Mind you, the kids at the time were way more literate than they are today. More literate than they are today, right? Antebellum, all the way through to what do you call it, 1960s, segregation and all that. Way more literate at that time with all the subjugation than they are right now. I don't understand how people it's asinine, Empress. And the fact is, I tried to look and see if this was like common or if this was like the on the outs. No, a lot of the black people who talk about this time period are this ignorant about it. Like, not all, obviously, but I'm saying a lot are. They're like, oh yeah, she chose the white man over her family. She chose bills. She chose food on the table. Right? Black women were so used to giving their bodies and their femininity and their livelihood, their self, right, for a livelihood. Right, to be able to take care of their children, to be able to put kids in school, to be like all the kids in the civil rights era that were going to school and stuff like that. This is who their parents were. They were just like Hattie McDaniel. They were struggling to do exactly what they needed to do to afford their children and their families the best opportunity that they could. So the fact that a mammy was even framed by some ignorant people like this as a betrayal to black people, to me, is insane. And you guys are going to see why I'm saying this, because the stupidest ones be the loudest, but they catch steam. And it makes me wonder, like, how many people just like this actually exist, that they believe that Hattie McDaniel and other black women who made sacrifices for us to be actresses today, right? Because so many black women today will tell you, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a model, I'm an actress." That exists because of a Hattie McDaniel. Right? Today, black women, black people are able to be in all different industries because women like her busted the door wide open. But there's some of us ignorant enough to believe that the mammy was an actual person and not a figment of the white people's imagination, because that's all it really is. All right, let's continue though.
Children. She wore a scarf on her head and a big dress with an apron. Hattie McDaniel played the famous mammy character Ruth in Gone with the Wind. This character became a cultural icon and made its way onto commercial goods like washing powder, liquid soap, and pancakes. Next, you have the mammy, or the old auntie. She was the complement to the old uncle, a disciplinarian, but like a mother, she offered warmth and love. She didn't want to leave the plantation and be free. Her life was about acting as a surrogate mother for white children. She wore a scarf on her head and a big dress with an apron. Hattie McDaniel played the famous mammy character Ruth in Gone with the Wind. This character became a cultural icon and made its way onto commercial goods like washing powder, liquid soap, and pancakes. Next, you have the mammy, or the old auntie. She was the complement to the old uncle, a disciplinarian, but like a mother, she offered warmth and love. She didn't want to leave the plantation and be free. Her life was about acting as a surrogate mother for white children. She wore a scarf on her head and a big dress.
And you know what, Empress, I'm really glad that you brought that point up, right? Empress said, Flo, my grandmother would tell me when she was younger, her husband left her. She had to work 3 jobs to take care of her and her family, while her husband was with his second family, right? The modern definition of a mammy, which we're going to talk about in Nyla's book, right? In the definition is ingrained this idealization of the black man, right? I think a lot of what was happening at this time was not the system keeping black men down, right? It wasn't necessarily that. At the time that your grandmother was talking about, this was specifically, right, the black men choosing to culturally destroy the community, right? Now, other people have done the same thing, right? Whether that be black women or other people, but specifically, when black men felt emasculated by the roles that women had to take on, it's almost like they turned inward some level of anger, right? It's almost like we're going to get into it, guys. I have a lot of really good videos today, so this will be a long stream. Get your buckle in, right? Get comfy, get you a little drinky drink, a little sneaky snack, because we're really going to get into it. But there's something that shifted, right? It was no longer the white man holding us down, right? It was culturally who we became. Thank you so much, Mr. Weon Locke. He says, hi, Flora. Hey, Mr. Weon Locke. Thanks for joining me today. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the support. Empress Kia says, women, especially black women, has always been the subculture in this society. Yeah, and it's one thing that I learned as a criminology and criminal justice major. Because, yes, I'm a CJ major, but my major also includes criminology, which some people would call a fusion of psychology and social justice. But sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked there. In subculture specifically, people tend to hold extreme views, right? Because what's going on in that subculture is they're being isolated from the communities and in the greater, larger society, right? And when you isolate people too much, they're forced to take on their own culture to feel accepted. And so they will create subcultures. I do believe to some extent that Black women have created subcultures in society that have become very negative. And we're going to talk about them, a lot of them being in the mammy taxonomy, as Miss Nicole Allen says in her book, right? But I do think that there is a larger umbrella of a subculture, and that subculture believes in self-sacrifice, believes in laying themselves down for Black men, as if Black men are the epitome of the Black race. Black women and Black children don't matter anymore. It is a subculture. So we're going to talk about it, but let's get into the rest of this video, and then we're going to move on to the next conversation, which is going to address where the mammy falls in all the stereotypes that we talk about. Because there are many stereotypes that are meant to destabilize the identity of Black women. Several of them, Mammy, Jezebel, Sapphire, many stereotypes. And mammy is no different, right? It's a stereotype. It's a figment of the imagination of white people and apparently Black men. So let's continue.
With an apron. Hattie McDaniel played the famous mammy character Ruth in Gone with the Wind. This character became a cultural icon and made its way onto commercial goods like washing powder, liquid soap, and pancakes. Next, you have the mammy, or the old auntie. She was the complement to the old uncle, a disciplinarian, but like a mother, she offered warmth and love. She didn't want to leave the plantation and be free. Her life was about acting as a surrogate mother for white children. She wore a scarf on her head and a big dress with an apron. Hattie McDaniel played the famous mammy character Ruth in Gone with the Wind. This character became a cultural icon and made its way onto commercial goods like washing powder, liquid soap, and pancakes. Next, you have...
Alright, so I wanted to play that video in its entirety, and now we're going to... Oh, did I just X out everything that I was trying to use? Oh man, y'all, my bad. Hold on. Alright. Sorry, guys.
You tell me who you want done, and I'll do the hell out of it.
The Jezebel.
Shut it up! You are such a big baby.
And the Sapphire. Submissive, sexy, sassy. 3 stereotypes of Black women that return to our screens over and over again.
The mammy is probably the most familiar to people. It's usually a maid, heavy, taking care of the family.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important.
She is asexual. She doesn't have really a life of her own. She's really only there to support the family.
And probably one of the most famous examples is Mammy.
What's interesting to me is that people don't realize how fabricated the mammy is. Just look at the juxtaposition, right? You have this thin, frail, beautiful young girl, right? Who, if we looked at the Black equivalent, would be immensely more beautiful. And that's the girl that the mammy is pouring into, right? So we have the imagery of the mammy, the big black woman, not even being able to pour into her own daughters, but 2 of them are pouring into this white girl. I mean, it should be so obvious to you that first of all, this is historically less than possible, right? Because as we saw, as we can see, or as we know historically, right? There's a video I didn't play, that's why I'm thinking about that. But as we know historically, the women who lived in the home with white women, a lot of the time were not the dark-skinned, big, burly women that they portrayed the mammy as, right? We know that the people who lived in the home and who served the family most closely were those who the slave master had children with. Those were the people. They were the light skins. There was no light skinned Africans during the slavery time. So the mammy is not real, right? This Jezebel, sorry, not just Jezebel. This mammy caricature couldn't exist historically. She's not historically accurate, right? But the juxtaposition here of her dressing up a white woman's daughter, making her look all snatched up and all of that, while she's not able to offer anything to her own family. First of all, they're trying to tell you a message about the beauty, right? The white woman is this frail, beautiful, gorgeous creature who just needs somebody to wait on her and help her look beautiful. And the black woman is simply her maiden, her mammy, right? The person who's helping her look beautiful. Where is the white mother? Right? Where is the white mother in this equation? And this is what we should be asking. The white mother, is she even able to nurture? Or is she like her white husband? Right? Is she like the slave master in this time? And she's not able to give feminine love or energy. None of it makes any realistic sense, right? The whole imagery is just effed up. It's an imagination of the white people. There is no black people historically that we have a record of acting out this way. Yeah, we just saw what's her face, Viola Davis playing a mammy in the movie The Help, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, why would she even take that movie?" Da 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 da. Because culturally, white people still want to see that. They still want to see black women putting everybody before themselves. They still want black women to sacrifice themselves for white women and their children, right? This is a microaggression that I feel from white people all the time. They still want black women to have to be subservient and sort of these creatures that take on the world and not themselves. They never get the opportunity or time to pour into themselves and their family because they're pouring into white society so much, right? All right, sorry guys, I was looking at that there. All right, let's continue.
To put aside her own desires, her own needs for white families, white men, white women, white children.
Meet Sugar Hill, sexiest, deadliest chick in town.
The second stereotype is the Jezebel, and that's someone who is generally oversexed.
Is mysterious.
Her only power is in her body and in the influence she has over men.
Unattainable.
And then finally, the Sapphire character, I think that's seen in TV more often than anything else.
Get some Kleenex, wipe your nose, cause it ain't that damn sad.
The Sapphire is usually sharp-tongued, manipulative woman who emasculates her husband.
There was actually a character called Sapphire Stevens on the Amazon Andy show.
And I guess you think you could cook, clean, and get along just fine all by yourself.
I do.
And you know what the crazy part is? As a black American woman with African ancestry, meaning my parents are from Angola, but I was born here, I have not heard about the Sapphire nearly as much as I've heard about the Mammy or the Jezebel, right? The Sapphire being this, like literally every imagery that I think black men use and weaponize against black women today came directly from white people. Quite literally, right? That's what we're seeing play out in live, in action right now. Lord ADS says, good afternoon, Flo's Body Cam Crime and Psychology Review. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good afternoon to you as well. Thank you for joining me today. Let's continue.
The representation of the angry black women. And that's kind of metamorphosized to today, where we just have sassy, angry black women who doesn't take anything from anybody.
Caricatures of black women have been around in Western culture for centuries. They're rooted in the transatlantic slave trade, when stereotypes were used to commodify black bodies and justify slavery. These characters were popularized in what Americans called minstrel shows, comedic performances in which white actors, in blackface, lampooned black people just to entertain other whites. By the early 1900s, minstrel shows were fading in popularity, but the stereotypes endured. They made the jump to film, then electronic media, and they have survived to this day.
Throughout history, more often than not, black women are depicted in reductive ways that denies the different experiences and emotions that are a part of their life.
Aunt Jemima. Perfect pancakes in 10 shakes.
Depictions of black women in the media throughout time have been used to put forward ultimately oppressive ideologies.
Generalizations are useful, I constantly say this, but they're also shortcuts. And it feeds into our own racist imagination. And we miss the realities, the full depth of black women's stories. Because you are essentializing black people,
Yeah, and you know, I love that, again, this video uses very modern examples, right? We have Precious, we have even like a black supportive role to a white woman in shows as we see today still. We have the angry black woman, right? The mother in Everybody Hates Chris. These are stereotypes that have literally been fed down to the community from white people. And the crazy part is, a lot of black people grasp onto these ideas in different forms. The sapphire, right? That's what has evolved into the angry black woman. That's an imagery that I don't even hear about as much, because even as black people, we tend to focus and stick to, what do you call it? Sorry guys, I'm trying to remember the names of them. We tend to focus on the Mammy and the Jezebel, right? It's right in front of me, but I had blinked out for a second, right? We tend to focus on the woman who chooses white people and their white children above others. We focus on the Jezebel, right? The one who sells herself, who becomes a bed wench for white men, right? And we're not focusing on what's going on internally, the ideologies that we're sharing internally within the community as well. Right? Because today you'll still hear a lot of men say, oh, black women emasculate, they choose the system, bop, 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 bop. And it sounds crazy.
Saying there is no complexity beyond this. Well, it's going to be no surprise that the audience and the creators alike are going to constantly think that we have represented black women in the way they are, when really what they've represented is just the same racist caricature over and over again.
Stereotypes like the Mammy, Jezebel and Sapphire have, however, evolved over time, reinvented in characters like the welfare queen and the sassy black friend.
Oh, you looking for a sassy black friend? Oh, no, I didn't. Well, you got one now, girlfriend.
In the wake of the Black Lives Matter protests, there has been renewed pushback against this kind of racist imagery.
Look, tin of Red Bull, yeah, pour half a Ray, fill the rest up with vodka. That is me, sorted.
These nails are digging in tonight.
I have ascribed to play the part of the welfare queen, and my mom is playing the mammy, and it's two like stereotypes together. With no like deep interrogation as to why.
Just £10 to get in and drinks cost a fortune.
We just like pop up as like best friends of like our white leads. I remember being on set and almost being asked to.
And let me just say this. First of all, we have two things wrong with this scene. One, I'm never walking in a nail salon that all the nail techs are white women. Sorry, Korean or none. Okay? I'm not getting my nails done by white women. I don't know what we're doing in London. Okay, I don't know what we're doing in the UK, but I'm not sitting down at no nail salon full of white women, right? I'm looking for the Koreans. What's going on with this imagery, right? But I did also notice that with a lot of the UK women, what's going on is that they are being cast as these like aggressive bull dagger sidekicks, right? Bald, short hair, right? A lot of them. It's not the same like with Black American culture, where you have a lot of Black American women fighting to be those feminine, cute, attractive women in movies, right? I mean, Jill Marie Jones, I haven't seen her in a movie as a bald-headed warrior yet. Right? I have not seen her in a movie as a bald-headed warrior. But I think that like a lot of the times now we have people who are not Black American sort of speaking on the stereotypes and archetypes that come from Black America when they're not from here. You know, it's a little weird too. But listen, Empress, I'm not going into a nail salon full of white women nail techs. No, I'm looking for the next business. And if the next business doesn't have a Korean, I'm leaving that block. Right? I don't know what we're doing in the UK, but I'd like to know. Hey, Victoria, that was my racism today, right? I'm not getting my nail done with no Becky. Sorry. None. Sorry. From where I'm from, on the East Coast, there isn't even a lot of people who would walk into a nail salon that was full of Becky nail tech. So I want to know what's going on in the UK in the first place. But also, her being upset at something, that's not necessarily being a loud, angry Black woman. But I think, like, you have the snickers from the nail techs where, like, ooh, I don't want to do your funky nails in the first place. But, all right. So let's continue with this video here. They're talking about Mammy, Jezebel, and Sapphire. 100 says, speak for y'all selves and the men y'all be picking. What are we talking about, 100? Because I have a feeling you're triggered. You came in earlier and you were like putting dogs and just being weird. So I have a feeling you're triggered. But feel free to share with us your thoughts. Cue us in on what the fuck you're talking about, because I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, Victorious One, be real. Would you sit at a nail salon that all the nail techs were Becky's? No. Not in 2025. I don't know what they're doing in the UK, but if you're not Korean, you don't touch my nail. Okay? I'm not going to no nail salon full of no Becky's. Just saying. All right, the sentiment is global. The stereotypical idealistic notion of the examples are global. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. That's why you have Black people who move to places like Korea and other countries, and they experience racism. They experience stereotyping and all other levels of degeneracy. But at the end of the day, these people are not familiar with what's happening in Black culture. Right? They should specifically talk about what's happening in their culture, right? In UK culture, right? Black American culture is going to be significantly different than Black UK culture, right? And I think each has unique circumstances which are not to be ignored. So let's continue.
Give us more sass, give us more attitude. I watched this back and I absolutely was complicit in the propaganda of the anti-Blackness.
Well, the rest up with vodka.
I advocated anti-Black-like rhetoric for the sake of capitalism and for the sake of a credit.
But you see how this bothers me again? Like, this is a Black woman trying to make a living. Like, this is what really Sorry, guys. I'm not getting started because the video was glitching, but this is a Black woman who's simply trying to make a living, and she's being made to feel like by the community that somehow she chose capitalism and white supremacy. No, she chose survival. And if Black women didn't have to choose survival so much, she could have been an actress and didn't need to play a racist caricature or an over-exaggerated sense of a Black woman. Right? That is something that she has to do as a result of the environment that we live in. But she's not betraying Black people by doing that. When Black people get in when Black men get in the NBA and they marry all white women and their children look white after 2 generations, are we calling them self-haters? Are we telling them that they're walking away from the Black community? I mean, to me, again, this is what we would call straight up asinine right here. This is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense that this woman is feeling guilty for choosing a job.
for the sake of capitalism and for the sake of a credit.
Cyrus.
For black actors, caricatures are no longer the only parts out there. TV shows like Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, and Insecure feature layered black women in their leading roles. But such complex, multidimensional characters are the exception, while stereotypes, or token black roles, remain the rule. A fact that is at least partly explained by a lack of diversity behind the camera, at the writing desk, and in the director's chair.
One of the problems is that there just really aren't a lot of people of color who are making decisions, who are writing, who are producing, right?
It's like no job, no man. All of this sounds bad, but it's actually really good. It's good vibes.
When you think about a show like Insecure on HBO, Issa Rae does that because she is a black woman. She has black writers, black producers, and so she makes it her business to make sure that the full story is told, the complex parts. That's reality, and we just don't see a lot of that on TV or in film.
The fact that the majority of casting directors are white and predominantly male absolutely adds to the further sort of marginalization of black bodies and absolutely contributes to the misrepresentation of who we are and our stories.
What the hell is Bob Marley salted cod with vegetables, please? Just call it a different name, man. Nah, I'm not eating Jamaican food made by English people.
And so I think we're turning to the internet because the internet allows us to commune, mobilize, stabilize, educate, decolonize, and free ourselves from the sort of the dominance that is like the white culture.
The internet has offered black artists a space to tell their own stories, and they have proven successful. Web series like Aki and Saltfish and Issa Rae's Awkward Black Girl amassed large followings online, and both shows were eventually picked up by big broadcasters. But it's taken a lot of clicks and likes for TV executives to acknowledge that black women's stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, are worthy of their screen time.
The thing about that for me is that I truly think that when it comes to black women's stories being popularized, it has more to do with the culture in general, right? Like how receptive are people to these experiences? I think a lot of the times people wanted black women to be quiet about what they're going through, what they're experiencing, just everything. Like people didn't want black women to be vocal about the fact that they feel oppressed by the system, their men, the community, just everything as a whole, right? So I think it's a little weird. But Takeem says it's always the old people saying people of color. Yeah, it is. Well, here's the problem. Black people have always been offered a space to tell their side of the story because I grew up experiencing those times. We always mess it up. Yeah, I think Takeem, I think the problem is that a lot of the times black people want to control how we believe and understand things. So they don't want to just tell the truth for what it is. A lot of times they want to rewrite and rewash things so that egos can heal, so that they can maintain patriarchal structures, things like that. And I think a lot of the rewriting that people do has to do with the fact that they rewrite out the betrayals of black men and other people in the culture. Takeem says that's all black people do, that crowded. They don't get a space, they don't get a shot, and then when they do get the space and the shine, within less than a decade, they screw it all up for everybody. Like we have a lot of black movies ran by black people and everything. I mean, just a lot more than before. But if you look at these movies, it's all self-hate and black stereotypes. Yeah, I mean, think about Tyler Perry. Right, he says that he wants to tell the truth so black people can heal, but he literally makes only movies that present negative stereotypes about black people, and people love Medea, right? Medea is a pinnacle. She's very funny to a lot of people. She's not funny to me anymore. She used to be very funny, right? Even though we know Medea is Tyler Perry big ass putting on a dress and some titties. That's who Medea was. right? She was that big caricature. She was the mammy. And that was created by a black man. So, and black women had all the time in the world. I mean, we were vocal and it was so beautiful. And everybody loved how black women are, how they became quiet again, had nothing to do with them being forced to be quiet. Yeah, I think it's cultural though, Takeen, aka Tan John, aka Drill Sister, right? Because you change your name like 100 times. But I do think something cultural within black people changed too. It became toxic. It became negative. It became detrimental to self. And I think that's the issue that books like the Mammy DSM and the new ideas and beliefs about mammies, that's how they came into it, right? It was more of black men in her space getting with her because she became the vocal, the money maker and everything. But then he shut her up or stayed quiet for him. Yeah. It's crazy, but let's watch this video here, right? This is a Miss Twilight Speaks. Now, I'm going to say something about Miss Twilight Speaks because I heard a couple of her videos. I do use her as an example when we talk about mammies today, but I think that I use her because her language, right? She's not necessarily completely siding with men, but I think her language and the belief, the words that she uses about her belief systems and things like that, I think that's the problem that I have with her. So yeah, yep, exactly. Then you had Tyler Perry trying to replace black women too. Like it seemed like everybody's just jealous of black women, and then you got black women jealous of other black women. Yeah, it's a whole circle. But let's watch this video here.
Mammy archetype is a stereotypical depiction of black women in American culture, particularly those who worked as nanny or caregivers in white households. This image is rooted in the antebellum South and has been perpetuated throughout literature, media, and pop culture, often depicted as devoted, happy, nurturing, maternal, religious, long-suffering, rarely interested in her own well-being, and overly preoccupied with the needs of others. Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Twilight. Welcome to the evolution of Mammy, where I'm going to take you down the road of how Mammy archetype became a staple in the consciousness in the black community. One of the things that I want you guys to keep in mind is there was no psychological debriefing after antiquity. People captive in slavery were set free. There wasn't a psychologist or a group of psychologists on deck.
Now, she's not wrong, right? I do think that we have ingested very negative, non-beneficial characters and it's not characters, belief systems and things like that. She's not wrong, but that's not an excuse to continue with it, to be like that, right? That's not an excuse for us to continue to push those mentalities or make excuses for those in the community who refuse to grow and evolve, right? That's the problem that I really have with the things that she says and other people as I hear them talk about this. Now, before I go too much more into her, because I do really truly believe that she comes from a good place, I do think she's just a little misled on the role that black women play. Like, I don't think it's our job to lift black men up, right? I think black men have to choose to do that themselves. But I'm going to share this video with you guys because I think that, like, I'm sort of understanding why some people get annoyed when they hear Africans talk. Okay, and I'm only going to say this because I thought she sounded really ignorant in her video. I think she sounded dismissive. And I also think that she sounded bandit-led. Thank you so much, Victorious One. She says, great live stream, Flora. Thank you. I'm trying to stay on topic and give a historical background before we get into the new definition of a mammy, right? Because at the end of the day, this mammy archetype was something completely made up, right? This was never a real, there's no black women that are linked to a mammy archetype, right? But somehow today we still hear people act like black women at some point chose white society and their children over the community. So let's get into this video. This is I believe she's black and from the UK, but she talks about the modern day mammy, all right?
Into committee, and there's a lift. It is a members only lift, but generally only for when the bell goes. And I got in the lift, and there was this very loud conversation by the other MP saying that this lift really isn't for cleaners. And so it took a while for me to realise that they're talking about me. You know, can you imagine being a cleaner in that situation? So I had to say there's nothing wrong with being a cleaner and how rude and disrespectful that they were. But also I was an MP, elected, and so, you know, I've earned my right to be in this bloody lift. There was so many incidences that you don't take them all on board. Like you kind of take some of them on board and you challenge some of them, but you're all so busy, otherwise you spend your whole day fighting all the racist incidences. And the David Heathcote Amory situation, he physically tried to stop me going to the members.
And let me just say this too, right? So she knows she's an MP. She knows no one should be stopping her. At the end of the day, her being there, her fighting in her role, her showing up every day as an MP, or whatever she's supposed to appearing as an MP, that's her fight, right? In the civil rights era, the wins were small, just like this. So we're not going to sit here and take a black woman who's making strides in Parliament as being one of the only black people in that room and try to act like because the establishment pushed back against her, that somehow she's just a dumb tool of the white establishment in the UK of Parliament. That's not the case. We see it all the time when leaders push back against black people who are in government. We see it all the time. It does not make that person any less than. So I don't know how this is like the beginning of them showing a modern mammy. This is her talking about her experience with racism. If anything, that's the opposite of what a mammy would do. But you have these Africans who don't know what the hell they're talking about, who get a lot of times get their heads gassed up by certain black men and pro-black communities. And that's where they come up with these ideas. Right? Let's continue.
Part of the terrace. He said, where do you think you're going? This is for MPs only. And basically you can't eat here. But I thought I would just challenge him, just lightly, and I thought he'd apologise and it would be the end of it, but he didn't.
Why black women are modern day mammies? This is the MP, Member of Parliament, a person who represents different areas in the UK, just as you have different mayors in different states. What we have here is a black female speaking on the experience she has in the House of Parliament, where all the MPs come together to speak on political issues. And I like to do videos not only about dating, but other areas black females push themselves in to get a piece of the pie. This is what I see here with Dawn Butler. The UK is America's older brother, older and wiser. The UK do things conservatively, the Americans do things radically, but they're all part of the same family. I say this so we understand the racial issues are still very...
You see, here's your problem, remnant princess, right? One problem that you have, you're not historically well read. You're not historically well read. The fact that she is an MP and a woman of color in the UK establishment, while there are still people in the Parliament who are discriminative towards black people, should tell you something, right? She was smart enough to get a seat at the table. So even though that door maiden, that security guard who played with her that day, might have felt like he got some power over her, at the end of the day, she's an MP. So whether he believes that or not, doesn't change her role. So how, again, Is that her not understanding that the establishment don't like her? Who gives a fuck what a little security guard at the door thinks? You're a peasant, right? I'm a member of parliament. So whether you believe members of parliament are black or not, I'm still one, right? I don't get how this is something to weaponize against the woman who is ultimately there to speak up for herself. I don't know. Somebody help me understand what is going through the male-identified mammy's mind. Because I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's continue.
Very relevant in the UK, but experienced differently. Before I get into how black females are the modern day mammies, how they find themselves here all the time when it comes to joining other societies which isn't yours, the consistency of how they're treated is important to document.
But you know, Takeen, that's what's annoying though, because I am a first-gen African American, right? I was born in America. I have African parents, right? I don't believe any of the dustiness that this one African woman fell for, but I can see it clear as day, right? She oh yes, the dusty black man who's dusty, who is talking down to black American women, right, and propping up the African women in some way. Yes, we see that all the time. We see that all the time. But it doesn't change the reality. I mean, it actually bothers me that, like, people from other cultures aren't really sitting down and trying to understand. I think Remnant Princess is ignorant. If she had talked to some educated, some sweet, graceful black women, she would have understood what was really happening. But she chose to go based off of stereotypes that she heard from other black people, black men. From my opinion, that's what this sounds like. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
In the next clip, we're going to take a look at how Dawn Butler was treated. This was during COVID or after, somewhere around that time. To take note of how they completely disregarded her.
The link between infection and serious disease and death. Not only is this not true, Madam Deputy Speaker, but it is dangerous. And it's dangerous to lie in the pandemic. And I'm disappointed that the Prime Minister has not come to the House to correct the record and to correct the fact that he has lied to this House and the country over and over again.
Order. I'm sure that the member will reflect on her words just then, perhaps correct the record.
Madam Deputy Speaker, what would you rather?
So right there, they just asked her, right? Acquiesce. Don't call out the member of parliament. You're here as a black woman. We allowed you to be here. Don't you dare tell the truth about the bandit that we're protecting, right? And she actually stood up and says, well, do you want me to lie at the expense of women? Right? What do you want me to do here? Do you want me to be honest, integral? She laid it out for them. Just like a woman who's advocating should do. That's what I'm getting, because this heifer is not an expert. Yeah, she's not an expert at all. The black woman here is she's trying to call out what the right another member of parliament or whatever was doing. He lied on the record, and she called it out. And they're telling her, "Oh, okay, you're gonna take that back, right? You're not gonna say that he really lied. You're not gonna say that on the record." And she's like, "Yeah, the fuck I am. I am actually." Right? That's what black women do with their ability to advocate. They advocate. That's what she was doing here. So this woman's example of her being a modern day mammy. What? It doesn't make any sense. Like, some people are just beside their brains. Truly. Truly. But let's keep listening.
A weakened leg or a severed leg. You know, at the end of the day, the Prime Minister has lied to this House time and time again. And it's funny that we get in trouble in this place for calling out the lie rather than the person lying.
Order, order, order. Order! Can you please reflect on your words and withdraw your remarks?
Deputy Speaker, I've reflected on my words, and somebody needs to tell the truth in this House that the Prime Minister has lied.
Under the power given me by Standing Order number 43, I order the member to withdraw immediately from the House for the remainder of the day's sitting. I call Tom Randall.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On perhaps a slightly lighter note, I hope that before the House adjourns today, we can...
Now, as you can see, she's in the House of Parliament, speaking on political issues affecting the UK. And look how they treated her. They literally kicked her out the house. What gets me, this is what black...
Okay, so here's where your African ass has to shut the fuck up, mind your business about what's happening on this continent, right? Or what's happening on any continent where black people who were enslaved are living, right? Her getting up there and advocating for herself is her right. You're not going to tell her, oh, look how they embarrass you. How dare you advocate for yourself? That's what she's allowed to do, right? Her being an MP, her status as an MP was not revoked because of this. Your problem is you feel like she should be embarrassed. No, this is what it takes. When you speak out for your people, your culture, for black women, it requires you to be thrown out. Some people don't want to hear anything that you have to say. So how is that her being a modern day mammy? She's sitting as a member of parliament. What are we talking about? Whether people feel a certain way or not, she's a member of parliament. She's speaking up for the experiences of black women. She's slammed through a door. Whether you feel that she's a mammy or not, you know nothing. You didn't even experience chattel slavery in the UK, from what I know, historically from what I know. So who are you to tell black women, oh, look at you just letting yourself get run over? You don't know shit. Shite. To be sitting here saying she's a mammy in the first place. Right? Nobody's mad at this African woman getting up here calling a black woman serving in the parliament in the UK, one of very few, as a member of parliament, regardless of who knew she was black or not. She's serving as a member of parliament, but that's something she's supposed to be ashamed of? This is her siding with white people? No. Siding with white people would be her, oh, I withdraw my statements against the prime minister. I withdraw my statements. That would be her siding with white people. That's not what she did here. She fought. And that's what she meant to do when she got that seat as a member of parliament. So how is this an example of her being a dumb black female? Because that's what this dummy's about to say. That's what she's been saying in her video. But let's continue. Ooh.
Females are fighting for. This is who you're submitting to, just to be continually disregarded. I think these are one of the biggest issues in the black community. Black females are the modern day mammies. How they find themselves here all the time when it comes to joining other societies which isn't yours. The consistency of how they're treated is important to document. In the next clip, we're going to take a look at how Dawn Butler was treated. This was during COVID or after, somewhere around that time. To take note of how they completely disregarded her.
The link between infection and serious disease and death. Not only is this not true, Madam Deputy Speaker, but it is dangerous. And it's dangerous to line the pandemic. And I'm disappointed that the Prime Minister has not come to the House to correct the record and to correct the fact that he has lied to this House and the country over and over again.
Order. I'm sure that the member will reflect on her words just then, perhaps correct the record.
Madam Deputy Speaker, what would you rather, a weakened leg or a severed leg? You know, at the end of the day...
You see what she said? She said, what would you prefer, a weakened link or a severed leg? Right? She said, I'm not going to stand down. She said, I'm going to say exactly what I need to say right now about this issue. Right? She got in that member of parliament and she did exactly what the hell she was supposed to do. So for an African, for an African to get up in this video and say, oh, she's a modern day mammy. So because you're sucking on some black peen, now you know better than a black American woman about what a mammy looks like? Please. But I bet you she won't come to your channel and get that. No, the hell she will not. Because this type of black mammy who gets on here to speak in favor of the ideals and the beliefs of black men, no, she don't have shit to offer anybody. She's not going to try to better herself. She's just going to put out there what she thinks black men want to hear. And this is it right here. She thought she ate with her little 965 views. She thought she ate. She said, I'm sick of these black mammies. Without even knowing any of the historical, I mean, it's crazy. This black UK woman, probably twice as intelligent as she is, she's getting up here to call her a mammy. To call her a mammy. I don't like the ignorance that I hear in these conversations. I think black women, African women have to do better. Okay, you're here. You're able to go far. Your children are able to go far and be successful in this country because of the struggles of black American women, because of the struggles of FBA, African women in the UK and other countries. At the end of the day, right? Foundational black UKians or foundational black Europeans, whatever you want to call them in UK. Those people who were there, who had those first experiences, who fought, who stood out, who became members of parliament as black women. Those are the people who matter, not some dumb black mammy on YouTube. Like, it's insane. You know, and I'm spending a lot of time talking about mammy because, trust me, I have been gaslit about this topic quite a bit. So when Nyla talks about the modern mammy, like the real one, the one that's really hurting black people, the one that's really defaming the character and the ideals and beliefs that we already have about black women, right? Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. So we're going to keep watching, okay? We have a couple minutes left in this video, and then I'm going to take you guys into quotes, direct quotes from the book that talk about the new definition of mammy, where it comes from, the belief systems that drive it, and sort of where we're going with that new terminology. Now, shout out to Miss Nicole Allen, aka Nyla, for putting this book out there, for choosing to create a piece of literature that we can refer to about the experiences of black women and sort of modernize our new beliefs and ideals as well. Because I do think the idea of a mammy in this context that we're going to speak about it is new. It's very new. Takeen says it's the judgment with no consequence for me. How are you speaking on someone who's doing what she's never thought to ever do? So you're on point, Flo. Keep bringing it, fam. Yeah, like you're... I mean, she sounded like a UK black person who knew very little about, like chattel slavery in America, the struggle of that, all of it. She didn't know much about that to understand why a black woman would want to join the member of parliament and speak her voice in favor of black people. I mean, it's delusional to me. So thank you very much for joining and supporting the show today. So I'm going to play the rest of this video. If you guys have any comments, thoughts, or beliefs, please share them with me in the chat. But be mindful, right? We all have different ideas and ideals about black people, black women, what we believe that we should be doing. So, all right, let's continue.
The Prime Minister has lied to this House time and time again. And it's funny that we get in trouble in this place for calling out the lie rather than the person lying.
Order, 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 order. Can you please reflect on your words and withdraw your remarks?
Deputy Speaker, I've reflected on my words, and somebody needs to tell the truth in this House that the Prime Minister has lied.
Under the power given me by Standing Order number 43, I order the member to withdraw immediately from the House for the remainder of the day's sitting. I call Tom Randall.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On perhaps a slightly lighter note, I hope that before the House adjourns today, we can...
Now, as you can see, she's in the House of Parliament, speaking on political issues affecting the UK. And look how they treated her. They literally kicked her out the house. What gets me, this is what black females are fighting for. This is who you're submitting to, just to be continually disregarded. I think these are one of the biggest...
And let me just say something. Calling black women, black females, you're telling me everything I need to know about you and your mentality in the first place. Right? Because a female can be any species. A woman is a woman with a human experience. So just the fact that she's using that terminology, trying to dehumanize this woman because she simply wants a better experience for her and other black people is crazy to me. But let's continue.
Issues in the black community. Black females are always willing to be the mammy for the white society. The big house in America, the House of Parliament, it's the same thing. We have here is a modern day mammy wanting to have a voice in the house. We have the modern day mammy wanting to be seen in the house. Why don't black females give this effort to the black community?
What gets me is you think that black women aren't giving this effort to their community? Black women can't carry the community on their back. So again, this is what bothers me. For an African who doesn't know shit about American culture, to really get on here and say, why don't they give this effort to the community? You should be asking, where are the men? Why is it that the women have to sacrifice everything in order for the community to get the bare minimum? That's what you should be asking instead of criticizing your fellow black woman. Sorry guys, I'm trying to turn the camera down and it's not turning. I think she's ignorant. This sounds like a child to me. But nonetheless, this should just illustrate to you some of the differences that we have even amongst black people. All right, let's continue.
Instead, this is why I chose to do this, because black females will never be accepted in these spaces. Black females are let in within bounds. You can't cross their boundaries or you'll get kicked out. So much for feminism, so much for equal rights. The white woman here who created feminism told her to leave, told her to keep her mouth closed politically, told her you have no right to speak about things that don't concern you, told her you have no right here in this house, told her if you can't follow the rules that we made in this house, then get out. The white woman herself who created feminism made it clear there's no equal rights between them two, made it clear that they are playing a different rules and you have to stand by different rules, made it clear that this isn't your house to be acting out. The white woman didn't acknowledge her. They didn't want to even hear her. I think it's important to realize this isn't the patriarchy, this isn't misogynistic, this is feminism. This is what black females have gained themselves to. And it's chewing them up because those privileges and benefits were never for you. And the mammy, the modern day mammy, like Dawn Butler, is helping her get what she needs done quicker for herself, not for you. And even after all of that, if you catch the guy towards the end comes in and says, in a lighter note, which is very shady, a British way of saying thank God she's gone while she's leaving. It's consistent. But black females who are desperate to be part of their society, it's so evident. I don't feel sorry about it anymore because you can do this for their country, but you won't do this for your black man, for your black community, but quick to squat in the UK no matter what. This is getting pathetic.
See, this is my problem. This gaslighting is a delusional level of gaslighting because she's saying, oh, so you do this for the white man, but you won't do it for your black man, for your black family. How are we, in what way? In what way do you want her to submit to the black man and her black family that is going to help? Like, I'm sitting here listening to this from a mile away because I was going to check on something. I'm just like, this girl doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. Yet she's trying to give a formula to other women of what to do. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about, young lady. You don't know shit about American culture, about black culture, about any of that. It's just quite disturbing to hear at this point. All right, let's go back to the despicable history of the mammy archetype. Now, we learned a little bit already, but I want us to fully fill in the gaps because this African girl is not, she didn't tell us nothing. She don't know what the hell she's talking about, right? She knows very little. She's comparing black women in positions of advocacy to black women who chose white culture or something like that. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. So let's look at sort of more a clear history of the mammy archetype. Also, let's keep in mind that the person who made this video spelled despicable incorrectly. So don't come at myself for what you might not like about this video. Okay, I'm going to give out wrenches. Mr. Keen, do me a favor and keep an eye on the mods too. I've noticed there's been some mods who are going back and improving people who are saying negative things. So please do me a favor and just check that out for me because I trust you. You've been around for a long time. Empress said, this is I. This is I. What do you mean? Oh, this is eye-opening. Okay. You had to correct that? Oh, okay. The stream didn't come all the way up. I'm sorry. So this is eye-opening. Yeah, I mean, like, the whole idea of a mammy is not even real. You know, so the fact that this archetype has been weaponized so much, and you have other black women who come online regularly and try to gaslight the topic, yeah. Thank you, Takeen. Thank you. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people around who they try to pull and push out narratives that just don't make sense. So, yeah. Okay, let me keep playing the video.
Then you are going to continue to pass that down to your successors.
The programming.
Historian Deborah Gray White explains that the mammy archetype was part of a Southern myth portraying slavery as benevolent. This image was created to justify slavery by depicting enslaved women as happy and devoted to their enslavers and families. This portrayal was intentionally used as a tool of propaganda to lighten the abysmal context surrounding slavery. As if to say, see, something good came out of slavery after all. Well, anyway, so Deborah Gray, author of Aren't I a Woman? In her excerpt says in the 19th century, when the nation was preoccupied with keeping women in the home.
And honestly, Empress, that's the real truth here, right? There's a lot of gaslighting when it comes to this term, right? We're an hour and a half in, and before we can even talk about what modern mammies mean, there's so much gaslighting from the past, right? There's so many people who culturally are holding on to understandings that happen today. Sorry, guys, I got a little sidetracked. But yes, right? There's no the mammy that they're talking about in the past was a caricature. She wasn't real. Versus today, the mammy has become ingrained in a lot of people's mentality, right? There's nothing good about being separated from you. Nothing at all. I'm not saying that, no chaser. If I was a woman back in the 1930s, how many I would have made, how many I would have made history, and they would have talked about my black fat ass for the rest of my life. She'll be the first white girl getting slapped on. Oh my God. Thinking it too much. But yes, this is an issue. This is a major issue. But let's continue with this video here because they're doing a really good job, right? Only black women had their womanhood so totally denied. Only slave women were so totally unprotected by men or by law, right? Culturally, not by their men, and the law certainly didn't protect them.
Protecting them. Only slave women were so totally unprotected by men or by the law. Only black women had their womanhood so totally denied. While introducing the two stereotype characteristics, much of which we see today, the sexualized, unrestrained Jezebel or the loyal servant Mammy. So obviously we can only be one of two things, a Jezebel or a long-suffering mule. And that seems to be the general consensus today amongst the opposite gender. Jezebel, by symbolizing the supposed promiscuous behavior of the black female, became a justification for sexual abuse that female slaves suffered at the hands of both white and black males.
We will sort of stop there, right? Because we're talking about the Mammy tonight. The Jezebel, the Sapphire, those are big caricatures as well that exist. I did drop the link for the author tonight, Miss Nicole Allen. So if you wanted to join us today, Nyla, the link is in the chat. It's only for her, so if you're not her, I'm not going to let you up. So please do me a favor and don't come up if you're not Nyla. That would make it a lot easier for me tonight. But yes. This idea of a mammy has been a thought that's been mixed in with other beliefs as well. Now, as we go into the book that I'm here to talk about with you guys today, which is generally, let me stop sharing the screen. And go here, share with you guys the image of the book, which is the Mammy DSM, right? Diagnosing the self-sacrificing woman. Then you guys know sort of what we're talking about is Miss Nyla's book. She puts into words a lot of the beliefs and understandings that we have of the modern mammy and things like that, right? So I quoted directly from the book, and I'm going to read it as the book says so we don't mistake anything being said here tonight, right? The book describes a mammy as any woman who consistently prioritizes the well-being, image, and success of black men, often at her own expense, and to the detriment of other black women. The Mammy DSM exists to name, deconstruct, and help black women detach from toxic, male-centered social programming. Right? As we know, men control culture and society, and they control it by being dominating about what we can know and pass on. A lot of women who take on male-centered beliefs is because those things have been impressed on them. Right? So this book posits that they're trying to pull away from the male-centered thinking. All right, let me pull up Miss Nyla here. The Mammy Whisperer. Is that you, Nyla? Is that you? I just want to make sure. Can you turn your camera on? You know what? Hopefully that is Nyla, but I don't like the name Mammy Whisperer. Is that you? Text me in the back chat. Something that I sent you in the email today, or the text message today. I'm a little worried because I know there was people saying stuff about this book and trying to like lie. So I don't want people to just pull up here and be like a crazy. Okay, good, we're good.
So wait a minute. What were they saying about my book, girl?
Girl, they were trying to just come up here and be like Mammy was like this anti-black male term and all that. You know, even though I did a whole stream breaking it down. See, there's somebody else here, and I know that's not you.
Oh, okay.
Or Seb or something like that. Yeah, there's like people, they were fighting this, so.
Oh, they're mad about it. They'll be okay.
Yeah, they think mammy is related to like kind of what I broke down for the last hour and 40 minutes, right? The old maiden term mammy and like all the historical context behind that.
Right. Like they like clearly it's not the same thing, and language absolutely evolves, always does. So things can have multiple meanings, but there's a context to when we say mammy, because we're not, you know, even disrespecting, because people really don't even have a really good understanding of what historical mammy really is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or, you know, and they use that to disrespect people. And not to say that when we see these mammies, we don't, you know, it's not sometimes used as an insult, but there's a context, you know. There's definitely a context to it. So
There is, and I think your book does a really good job of bringing the context because,
thank
like I
you.
mentioned, like even a lot of people who heard and studied about like the old term for mammy, they misrepresent it. You know, like they
Mhm.
understand it wrong. So,
Yeah.
all right, so
Absolutely.
we're about to get into it. Hey guys, thanks for joining today. I have no idea what I'm doing. Sab, I think that's your daily, that's your like, that's your baseline. So don't worry. All right, so I was talking about the history. We kind of got the history of it, but we're into this idea of male-centered social programming. So like, are you able to like break that down a little bit more for people who are gonna act like they don't know what that means?
Sure. So the thing about male, okay, it's really easy. We all know women who, and you know what? I think I've experienced it the most being on social media. But as an example, we were on a panel, like this might have been 2020, 2021, right? And someone, the men were, we were all having a conversation, men and women, co-ed panel or whatever.
Mhm.
And as soon as a man started talking, this lady said, you know, some other women were, you know, disagreeing because it was very chauvinistic and misogynistic,
Yeah, they
the what they
tend to
were
get on
saying.
panels. Yeah.
And so one of the women said, "Wait a minute, stop interrupting them. Those are black men speaking." And I looked and I'm, girl, what is wrong with you? Like, what do you mean? Like, what does that mean? Okay, so where does that come from? That comes from the mentality that what men have to say takes precedence over everything, that men have a more important perspective, that women are secondary. Women are often afraid to be seen and heard or seen as assertive because we're, especially black women, you're if you're assertive, that's equated to masculinity, being combative and all this kind of stuff. Any sort, you know, you're afraid to be called a feminist. And you know, the regular, you know, the regular, let me go ahead and shut these women because the kings are here and all this kind of stuff. And that's not a problem
Yeah.
if the kings are kinging, right? But
Yeah.
oftentimes the mammy is acting as if this person is deserving of extra respect just because it has a dick, right? And what it does, and you know this very well, is an unwarranted dusty that has nothing to contribute,
Yeah.
has nothing, you know, does nothing, has no value, thinks that he is more valuable or valid than you are just because he has a dick.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, you see that a lot, like amongst spaces now. Like back in the day, you would see like, oh, they're like they don't want men and women in the same place. It was very like gender segregated. But now, like you do see spaces that are more like integrated, but the women serve a purpose there, right?
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of what you're saying, kind of like being the bootlickers and the ones who are like, ooh, 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 the men are here now.
Yeah.
Your opinion is not valid.
And what I've noticed is that women my age and older, they are the worst at it. I was sitting in Taz's man cave with him one day, and he was on a panel. There's an older woman there and a younger woman that I guess she was attractive. I didn't see her, but I guess she was attractive or whatever. And the older woman was trying to basically check her because she was, you know, going toe to toe with the man and all this kind of stuff, and telling her that she needed to be quiet. It is disrespectful to talk while men are talking and all this shit. And even Taz ended up getting with her because later on in the conversation, she was like, women don't know how to respect. You don't know how to do nothing but put on lashes and makeup and wigs. You don't know how to keep a man. You don't. And so the men are like, yeah, she cooking. But it was literally, we know what that is. We know that it's directed at the women. We know that it's for male approval. We know that
entirely for male approval.
That's all it is. These women in these spaces, they are not fooling me. These bitches is, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. These bitches are dick thirsty, and they will do anything to be seen in male spaces, right? You see them coming into the spaces talking about how, I am not a feminist, and I respect men, I know my place, and all this kind of stuff. That's their dating profile.
Yeah.
That is them sending, there's virtue signaling for dusty ass niggas to say, hey, I'm not like the rest of these women. I'm not combative. I know my place. You know what I'm saying? Like anything to shrink so that they can feel like big men.
Exactly. And I think these women do spend a lot of time shrinking themselves for those men, so yeah. Let me see this. You might have to was it open in any other apps? You might have to refresh. So I can't see you. I just see an OBS camera. I won't let that up. Sorry, Seb. Kind of keeping it for regular, people who are normal. Miss Natalie, I've seen it before. So, anyways, yes. Sorry, Gigi. You'll be all right. Maybe not the best time to watch with your daughter, but maybe a playback type of thing. But yeah, I do think one main thing that bothers me a lot of the times is that when we do kind of have these conversations, a lot of people are trying to bring it back, like, oh, you're taking a white supremacist term, right, and you're remixing it today.
And that's dog whistling. That's dog whistling. That's virtue signaling. That's literally trying to set someone to get attacked, but it doesn't even make sense. There's no it's literally a false equivalency, right? Because typically when we're talking about this, we're talking about something that harms women. So if it harms women and you're so pro-black or whatever it is, you should have an understanding that something that is, a mentality that is harmful for women, you shouldn't want that, right? But women are often on the back burner, especially in the Black community. So this male-centered behavior,
yeah,
basically it's when a person, and it don't even matter your gender, right? But when you base your values, your decisions, your identity, your actions around how it benefits, pleases, uplifts, or validates men specifically, right? It's not just about liking men, it's about making men the center of your universe, right? Mostly to your own detriment or to the exclusion of everyone else. And it shows up in ways like where, again, you silence yourself to avoid, quote unquote, emasculating a man. Because sometimes just being right, having the right answer, having an education, having more money, being attractive, being, well spoken, that's emasculating to a dumb nigga, right?
Yeah.
Prioritizing his goals, right? Prioritizing his comfort and his healing while neglecting your own. There are so many women out here trying to heal a Negro, and they're just as unhealed, untouched, unwatered, uncared for, but they out here trying to heal men. And then they judge other women way harsher than men for the same exact behavior, right? They believe that, their value increases only through a man's presence or approval. Like if the woman is accomplished, let's say she's a doctor, let's say she is a brain doctor, honey, and she is, established, she has her own practice. These Negroes and their mammies will say, but she still ain't got no man. All that don't mean nothing if don't nobody marry her. What's wrong with her? So it's like, it's forgiving a man 12 times, but you cut your homegirl off for one petty thing. I'm not.
Exactly.
You tell me if I'm talking too much because the topic really does.
No, you're on point about all of it. Honestly, that's why I wanted to have you break it down because, like, some parts
Mhm.
of this people just act slow, right? And
Oh, they're not acting. They not acting.
you
They're
know,
not acting.
I'm giving them benefit of the doubt that they're acting, but if
Yeah,
they are really that slow, that's even more tragic.
yeah. They are definitely not acting. No.
I'm gonna say this, like, one thing that surprised me too, because like you talked about the overt mammy. So you
Mhm.
described the overt mammy is the most visible and vocal version of the archetype. And I'm quoting directly your book. She's
Mhm.
loud with her love for black men and wavering in her defense and unapologetically loyal to the point of blindness.
Mhm.
This type of mammy leads protests, writes open letters, and challenges anyone who dares critique black men,
Yep.
even when the critique is rooted in harm or abuse. Now, this is where I sort of connected to crime, right? And I do see the overt
Absolutely.
mammy a lot. Talk a little bit
Absolutely.
more about this and how you broke this one down.
Listen, your analysis of the overt mammy being connected to crime, absolutely, because they will make an excuse for everything. If their son is out here robbing and killing and drilling, it's because
You posted one. Remember Trayvon Johnson?
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Talk
Oh
about
yeah. Like
you a little bit.
yeah, like that's literally what it is. And it is insane. They go to jail for them. It's because and I think I know that I highlighted this in the book. I'm sure it's in the digital copy too. The hardback copy has a lot more, it has a little bit more details or whatever. But these women believe that and here's the thing because the men actually like these women because they put the cape on for them. They say let me we got to save these men. They advocate for them. They do everything for them. But what the men don't understand is that those women do not respect you then. Those women look at you like you're a pathetic needy child. And a lot of that, the reason why a lot of these women operate this way is because they too are control freaks. And it is them actually operating a lot out of their masculine as well, because they want to be the protector and the leader of men. And they know that a lot of the men are stupid as fuck. So they know that if they, placate to their sides that needs to be completely validated and everything, and having them bow down to them and all this kind of stuff, they know they know. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they definitely do. And like one of the things that bothers me a lot of the times is that if you do try to like speak about it, like speak about just all the different mindsets that are harmful that we
Mhm.
have that are pro-black, like expecting black women, like there's one woman that she talks later in one of the videos that I'm going to play, and she says, "Oh, black women are a lifeline for black men. So if we choose not to like engage with them and make exceptions, right, and basically lower our standards, then we're taking away a lifeline from black men to stay alive, right?"
Yeah, and that's too much for any woman to bear. Like, no woman should be carrying a man on her back,
At all,
and
like,
it just shouldn't happen. It just
so,
shouldn't happen.
you know what I'm saying? But like for me, it was so normal for this woman to say like, "Oh, if you're a black woman and you choose not to deal with black men because you feel like they're too poor for you or whatever, that you're literally siding with the enemy." It's like, no. If I made the investment in myself, in my education, in the lifestyle that I want to live, I'm not required to date down with somebody who can't keep up with that, who's gonna
Mhm.
try to pull me down, who wouldn't appreciate the things
Yeah.
that I appreciate. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not an
Yeah.
entitlement of being enslaved or having slave ancestry. you
Mhm.
know?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like, the culture literally is to diminish women. you know and even one thing that no I don't hear a lot of people even making the connection, that culture of downplaying women to uplift men, that came from white supremacy.
Exactly.
That it came from their culture. You got to think about, they're literally emulating the most disrespectful. This is why I hate that a lot of Black women have gone to this position of worshiping white men. So get this straight. I think that women should date and marry just like men. Date and marry whoever you want, right? It's hard out here. Whoever they is, however they look, however it comes, take it that way, right? But don't transfer black male worship over to a white man. And do not be sitting up here thinking that the men who literally authored slavery, authored oppression, and all this kind of stuff are that much better. Because if they can say that all Black men are bad because they come from a weak line, weak ancestors, they were captured and they submitted to the white man. Well, remember who the white man is too. If that's our train of thought, right? These men did what? They had their wives in the house while they were raping Black women and impregnating them. So you know what I'm saying? Because the pro-Blacks love to take everything back to the plantation. And even the white male worshipers take everything back to the plantation. And I'm like, let's bring it full circle,
And they don't stop their male worship. They
No.
say they take it to another race. And that's not better. That's not, we shouldn't substitute anything like that. I think we should abolish it and replace it with like women-centered beliefs that actually support the safety of women and their children, because a lot of times we're the only one prioritizing the children.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's cultural programming.
Yeah.
A lot of cultures teach girls to aspire to be a wife and supporters of men, and not just a whole person. Okay, a wife, being a wife is a byproduct of having relationships, right? Of being in romantic situations. But should it be your aspiration?
Yeah.
Should that, you know what I'm saying? Should that really be your aspiration to be a wife?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it can be on your list, like maybe you want to be married, and I say this as someone who is celebrating 10 years today.
Yes,
So it's not like,
congratulations.
thank you, Muffin. So it's not, I'm not against it, but I don't worship marriage, and I don't think marriage should define anyone. Now, it does define mammies.
Yeah,
It does define them.
it's their knight in shining armor. Like, I honestly think that because they maybe come from such a broken structure, that having a husband alone, not even like having a functional marriage or family, just having a husband is like enough to brag for some people. But it's it's a lot.
It is, girl. It is. But look, mammies are dangerous people. And they are very dangerous people. Even thinking about the case that just happened with Cash Out, right? His mom aided and abetted his harm, trafficking, and abuse and exploitation of women. And she even allowed herself to be exploited by her son while she exploited women. Like, she was all a part of it. These men cannot operate like that oftentimes without the permission, without the and without the partnership of another woman. You're not gonna find a trafficking ring without a mammy.
Yeah.
There's going to be a mammy there somewhere. There's going to be a woman there grooming.
Yeah, grooming or like maintaining, keeping the structure, like being the bottom bee. Like, you will find one there. Whether it starts as like something they want to do and evolves, yeah, you'll see it there. Another thing, like you were talking about earlier, like there's this idea of the overt mammy. And I do think in some ways, like even people who don't overtly defend Black men, some of the things that they do are like mammy-like. Right? For example, we've seen Nicki Minaj releasing the location of Meg Thee Stallion's father, right? And then more recently, now she's attacking SZA for having work done on her body, which is something bandits usually do, right? They talk about BBLs and how smelly they are,
Mhm.
things like that. Like,
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the pop culture references that you make in your book.
So Nicki Minaj is an absolute mammy. Right, she absolutely is, and I'm glad you brought that up because I did see she was making a lot of references to SZA's body. SZA actually has the better BBL,
Yeah.
right? But Nicki is trying to leverage, her celebrity and longevity in the game and, larger base against her. That's very man-like. That's very patriarchal. You know what I mean? It's oppressive. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
Not to
white
mention
is killing me. I'm sorry.
I mean, Nikki is an entire mammy. She's an entire mammy. She's literally attacking, and I believe for multiple reasons. I think that Nikki does not like the younger guard coming through. A lot of mammies don't. They do not celebrate younger women. They're clinging, to some sort of relevance instead of going with, the fact that we're all aging. Your base is supposed to shift and age with you. And she just, she wants to be, forever the hot girl and all this kind of stuff. I actually think that there's some colorism in there as well. When I
Oh
think
yeah.
about the people that she attacks and just even thinking about where she's from, I believe she's colorist.
Oh my
Yep.
god, hold on, I'm sorry. I have to get rid of somebody in the chat before I get triggered.
What is this?
Don't even read it. I'm sorry. Yeah. One thing that gets me about Nikki too is like, look at her husband. Like, marrying a predator, her sibling is a predator. I mean, everything about Nicki Minaj screams mammy, right?
Mhm.
Like, she's willing to try to keep the reputation of her husband and her brother up, even though there are cases, clear cases, that they are predators.
Yep.
So like, and it's one thing that we see a lot in the community too, like this defense of like familial predators.
Yep.
Like, you want to speak a little bit about that? I know it's a tough
Oh,
subject, but
Oh no, that's a big thing because oftentimes, and I think a lot of women get it twisted. This is how you know when a woman is actually basing her decisions on integrity. This is when this is how you can tell whether or not she's male centered or not,
mhm.
when she doesn't have a problem calling out the ones around her, right? So while your father might have been your protector, he could be your mother's abuser.
Yep.
So do you let him off the hook for that? You know what I mean? While your big brother may have protected and defended you from the Dusties, he might very well be a Dusty himself. So mammies a lot of times will take the mindset that, well, I'm safe over here and I'm protected. So you know what I'm saying? What you gonna do? You know what I mean? But no, we're not doing that. That's how these Negroes thrive because decent women will be silent. Um, or either, you got the women too where they're in a relationship with a guy or getting in a relationship with a guy and they know that he's dogged the shit out of another woman. So, having the mindset that, oh, he did that to her, it's not me. It's no, it's not okay. It's not okay.
Yep.
And you definitely have to stand for something. And a lot of women have an issue with reconciling that. I couldn't sit and be with my husband if he was beating the women before him and before me and cheating on them and dogging them and talking shit. But I never like if I ever when I went out on dates with guys, if they start dragging their baby mama or something like that, I was done. That was the last date.
Yep.
Every time. I just didn't.
Exactly. I want to target what Stars is saying here. She talks about how Nikki also attacked Lotto and pointed out that she's biracial. That's another thing that mammies do, right? They want to hold the black identity hostage. And a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of times that does include, excluding biracial people, the children of black men with white women, things like that. How do you feel about that?
Mammies are pro-black superheroes. And being a mammy is in a lot of ways almost being, I know that, they're a matriarch, but because they're the caretakers, they make the sacrifices, a lot of times they pay the bills. And not to say that you can be a kept mammy. That's the thing as well. But they bear the brunt of, all of the responsibility and all this kind of stuff. They're like, they essentially, they're men with vaginas. And that's bad because I don't want to give
Yeah,
off the
that's bad.
impression that because all men are not bad.
Yeah, but
Right.
there's a
So
subset that's behaving poorly. Yeah.
yeah, and they're going to ride with them every single time. Right? They're taught that black men have it the hardest and that they need constant protection, and that, you have to basically forsake everything that is conducive to your own well-being in order to support them.
Yeah, and
And
that's the idea that, like, I think one of the mammies that I watched earlier, she was saying, like, you have to be a lifeline to black men, and I'm like,
who is that? Who said that?
her name is like, hold on, it's like Tweaker, not Tweaker, Miss Twilight Speaks, and she
So what like why is she saying this? Like what is like what was the context of you have to be a lifeline?
so so her context was like that we sit here and we worship Sierra and all these other like black love couples. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm telling you, Nyla. I was also very surprised. But she was saying like, oh, we worship Sierra and all these other people and this idea of black love when we should be willing to be lifelines to black men to keep them out of prison and to all of this like mammy behavior. And to me, it was just like, when are we gonna stop holding black women accountable for everything that the entire community does? Like, since when is it black women's fault that everything happens? Like, that's essentially what they're trying to say.
Child, no. Can I respond to this said person? Let me tell you something, sir.
Yeah.
He said, in my opinion, you ladies ain't worth the trouble. I feel I had a wife for many years in my youth. We grew apart, but what an amazing time. So here, like, don't nobody give a damn about what you're talking about, sir. And of course you guys grew apart. She probably grew up like most women do, evolved, and you probably couldn't handle that. And I'm sure she's much happier. Right? I'm sure her amazing time happened after the divorce. Like, what are you talking? You ladies ain't worth it. If you don't take your ass somewhere and sit down.
Yeah,
But
and like Seb was probably a complete nightmare to his wife. Like the times that she was forcibly married to him. So like he comes in here like as if we're gonna be jealous of like the fact that he was married for many years. You probably terrorized that woman. You're probably why women don't want to get married in the first place.
So No Chaser is going with the historic definition of mammy. And I know that you've talked about this before and you probably, read it as we defined it in the book. But when we're talking about a mammy, okay, so if you think about ancient historical mammy, right?
Yeah.
She was a victim.
Yeah.
Right? Mammy was a victim. But let's talk about the core traits and what Mammy had to do. Mammy had to take care of other people's children and leave hers to, tend to themselves.
Yeah.
Mammy had to take care of and feed another family before her own. She had to give care to another woman, to another family, to everyone else. She literally had to look out for everyone except for herself. She neglected every single thing about who she was and her best interest so that she could serve, right?
Yeah.
Now, Mammy had to do that because Mammy was a slave, right? So the understanding of the Mammy doing everything and putting everyone before her to her own detriment. That's what we're taking from this. So a modern day Mammy would be the woman who literally forsakes herself, her children, even sometimes, other women, to her detriment. She just serves. or she sacrifices, or whatever it is, but she does not do what men do typically, or just healthy minded individuals from a healthy perspective, and that's consider herself first. You
Yeah,
know, when you're on the plane and they tell you, you know, in the event of a crash, you put on your life jacket first. She's not going to put on her life jacket first. She going to make sure everybody else is on, and she's going to die.
exactly.
She's a crash dummy. She's
Yeah.
a crash dummy.
Yeah. And I think that's where your book makes like the difference, because I do think a lot of the times they try to act like this idea, again, the deeply rooted stereotype was created by white people.
Yeah.
No one else created besides white people. So if you're, as a black man today, taking that ideology and framing it into your own belief system, you're taking your ideology directly from white supremacy, which is what they claim that black women do when they go to college and get jobs and make better income and become entrepreneurs. Like, it makes zero sense here, right? The culture that's popularizing a mammy is not black culture. That's, a lot of the times, that's white supremacist culture. That's the dominant culture. They're the ones who are popularizing it. So when you try to take Hattie McDaniel, for example, and be like, oh, she chose the white man, you're not listening. You're not paying attention.
And just like Joanne is not really paying attention, because the thing is, she says, I don't think they were choosing a white family over their own family. They were just doing their best. Right. So, which is why we, in the book, we actually honor the legacy of her and her experience. We actually do. And so, no, they were not choosing this, right? But women now are absolutely choosing this. They are choosing to not honor themselves. They are choosing to self-sacrifice and serve and prioritize other people and successes of men over theirs at their own expense every single time.
And at their children's expense, and at their families, all of it. Like, it's at the expense of the children as well, because the children don't need that from her anymore. That's not necessary in society. They need her to be a mom, present, a figure, right? They need the men. Okay, maybe you can't provide 100%, but you still need to step in as the man. You need to have that role. And it's a lot of what I keep hearing from people is like, oh, black women, if you're expecting men to be healed and come into relationships and respect you and be good fathers, then you're expecting too much. There's too much damage that happened in slavery for you to expect that. And it's that, I think that's asinine. I think we should still have high standards for ourselves, even if it takes time to meet it.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be using slavery as a benchmark for, you know, it's just it is insane.
Yeah.
And that, like, ladies, by the way, that's a red flag. If you are with a man and when you are talking about what is happening currently in your relationship and he is always referencing slavery, black men being taken out of the home by welfare, something post reconstruction or something like that, you're dealing with a damn fool. And he's going to turn you into a mammy.
And you know what's crazy? Because I showed the video. I don't know if you saw it. I showed the video of the African girl talking about how, like, the modern mammy is the black woman who became a member of parliament in the UK and started advocating for black people, right? There's also this subset of, like, brainwashed women who really don't understand that when you seek to be to advocate or to speak on behalf of black women, that's not, or in circles with white people, that's not you being a mammy, right? That's you using your voice in a good way, right? Like, that's trying at the very least.
Right. Absolutely.
Did you catch that part of the video?
Pardon?
Did you catch that part of the video?
No, I just you know, we do our manifestation meeting. I had just got out of it. It went a little bit longer. So I literally had just popped in.
Let me play this one for you, because I was like when I first heard this one, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, how is an African who knows really honestly very little about, like, American culture or even UK African culture, how are they gonna get up here and, like, call black women today mammies because they're choosing to be advocates and lawyers and things like that? Like, it was so weird. So just bear with me. I really wanted to get your thoughts on this, okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let me play the video.
going into committee and there's a lift. It is a members only lift, but generally only for when the bell goes. And I got in the lift.
When she says lift, she's talking about being in an elevator. If you don't know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I know there's some people that don't know, but that's what she's talking about. She's in an elevator that's specifically for the members of parliament, and she's being denied entry in that elevator because she's a black woman by somebody who works in the elevator. So just for greater context for people who are checking in, they don't know what she's talking about here.
And there was this very loud conversation by the other MPs saying that this lift really isn't for cleaners. And so it took a while for me to realise that they're talking about me. You know, can you imagine being a cleaner in that situation? So I had to say there's nothing wrong with being a cleaner and how rude and disrespectful that they were. But also I was an MP, elected. And so, you know, I've earned my right to be in this bloody lift. There was so many incidences that you don't take them all on board. Like you kind of take some of them on board and you challenge some of them, but you're all so busy. Otherwise you spend your whole day fighting all the racist incidences. And the David Heathcote Amory situation, he physically tried to stop me going to the members part of the terrace. He said, where do you think you're going? This is for MPs only. And basically you can't eat here. But I thought I would just challenge him just lightly. And I thought he'd apologise and it would be the end of it. But he didn't.
Why black women are modern day mammies. This is the MP, Member of Parliament, a person who represents different areas in the UK, just as you have different mayors in different states. What we have here is a black female speaking on the experience she has in the House of Parliament, where all the MPs come together to speak on political issues. And I like to do videos not only about dating, but other areas black females push themselves in to get the piece of the pie. This is what I see here with Dawn Butler. The UK is America's older brother, older and wiser. The UK do things conservatively, the Americans do things radically, but they're all part of the same family.
So how do you feel about her commentary about the UK and the United States and how they sort of express racial microaggressions and things like that?
Well, microaggressions are definitely a thing. So we're not going to deny that. I still don't get her angle completely though.
I didn't get her angle either. I think what she's trying to say, and we'll play the video in a minute, but I think what she's trying to say is that, like, why would you as a black woman expect that the members of parliament, even if you join it, are going to give you respect, right? Like, why even try to...
So that's her foundation of this woman being a mammy, that she decided, yeah, she's the mammy.
Yeah.
Mammy. Yeah, the woman that has the problem with another black woman having audacity, or a woman period, because actually with this, even with mammy, we can remove race because the behavior is a behavior, right?
Yeah.
So she has an issue with this woman having the audacity to step into a space where it is male dominated and literally decide that she wants to, okay, this is, we're coming to the table if we want to do it like this, or whatever it is that her goals are. She's the mammy. Exactly. She's the mammy. She's the one, because she wants to, what does she want to do? She wants to suppress this woman, right? She wants to tell her what her place is. She want, you know what I'm saying? Like that is all mammy. Yeah. That is a freaking mammy.
And she's trying to act like the fact that she wants to be liberated and speaking for on behalf of black people, that she's a mammy, but how does that make her a mammy? Like,
again, that would have made Harriet Tubman a mammy, Jane Pittman a mammy, Claudette Colvin. All these people are mammies because really the women had to have the audacity, right, to do this, to come into the. I mean, a woman that's an accountant is a mammy. A woman that is an astronaut is a mammy. A woman that's in construction is a mammy. Those are male. Those are white male dominated. You know what I'm saying? Like, girls, hush.
A
I hate
woman with a bachelor's degree is a mammy, because why would you
right.
do something that men are supposed to get? Right?
Because why would you educate yourself and position yourself for better?
How dare you, right? Like, and that's what bothered me about the whole conversation, because it's not like these archetypes who call black women mammies today, and this is where they should really be insulted, right? Because they get mad at me when I use mammy against people who are literally anti-black women, but they don't ever get mad at these people who call women who are protecting and providing for their families, doing the best that they can to advocate for other black people. I mean, this woman has sister locks. She's sitting up here fighting for black people, and she's being called a mammy. And no one has a problem with that. But if I were to get up here and say, hey, you're a mammy because you support black men at whatever cost, I'm a mammy. You know,
right.
Like it didn't really make a lot of sense here. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
People busting in my room. No, but how do you feel about that? Like in terms of like the cultural aspect of it, because I know like there's a lot of differences between Black Americans and UK American, or sorry, not UK Americans, but like UK Black people. Like, how do you feel about them speaking on issues that have a lot of American rooted experiences in them?
So whenever the society is completely patriarchal, here's the thing. Africans in general, and I am generalizing, right? Cannot tell the average American anything about the culture, about their experience, or about how they should move. Because I mean, if we're talking about a continent that is over 90% dominated by them, but yet they do not control a lot of their own continent, you like hush. Okay, white supremacy has whooped y'all ass really, really bad. It's just a little bit of them over there, but you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all have some of the highest femicide rates. Y'all have some of the highest child marriage rates. You have the highest female genital mutilation rates.
That still happens.
Yes. So, this is a country a continent that does not prioritize women and children. So I think that she should stay in her fucking place and worry about saving little girls' lady parts from being cut off by other women.
Yeah, and the thing too, and I'm glad you bring that up, because FGM has been perpetuated by women and women in the culture as well. Like that's a big part. Africa really has no business speaking up about these issues towards Black women, because again, the continent is very anti-woman still. And especially anti-Black women. They will prop up a Becky all year long, but they're not going to prop up Black women and Afrocentric beauty as well, even though they have a continent where 90% of the control is in the hands of other Africans. So
that's another good point too. Like, they actually have the highest group. They have the largest percentage of skin bleachers. Like, they're completely anti-Black.
Yeah, and they have the most Black people around them, meaning they could very well inspire their own imagery of Black beauty. And a lot of those images, like when you see like Nigerian women become Americanized and other stuff like that, they take on a lot of the beauty standards of Black American women, which is ironic. So it's a lot. I try to like grasp it, but this one didn't make a lot of sense to me. So let's hear a little bit more of her rationale if you have some time.
I'm curious.
Okay.
I say this so we understand the racial issues are still very relevant in the UK, but experienced differently. Before I get into how Black females are the modern day mammies, how they find themselves here all the time when it comes to joining other societies which isn't yours, the consistency of how they're treated is important to document. In the next clip, we're going to take a look at...
So this is my issue right here. Okay, just like Niall had mentioned, you guys live in a continent that is yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And violence and aggression towards women is normal and commonplace. So again, the arrogance doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this video really annoyed me because I'm sitting here listening, hoping that she's gonna make legitimate points, but I'm hearing. Are you not hearing a little bit of the dusty male rhetoric in her ideology?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because here's the thing: where are the black men to do what she's trying to do?
Exactly.
You know,
There's none.
Right, right.
It's mostly women who are trying to keep up the culture, the mindsets, and all of that. So she's getting up here and saying, well, black women, you're mammies for choosing to go against the system, to learn it, but also go against it. But, you know, we're also not expecting much from men or anything. You know, this is still a conversation attacking the beliefs of women. So, all right, let's keep listening.
How Dawn Butler was treated. This was during COVID or after, somewhere around that time. To take note of how they completely disregarded her.
The link between infection and serious disease and death. Not only is this not true, Madam Deputy Speaker, but it is dangerous. And it's dangerous to line the pandemic. And I'm disappointed that the Prime Minister has not come to the House to correct the record and to correct the fact that he has lied to this House and the country over and over again.
Order. I'm sure that the member will reflect on her words just then, perhaps correct the record.
Madam Deputy Speaker, what would you rather, a weakened leg or a severed leg? You know, at the end of the day, the Prime Minister has lied to this House time and time again. And it's funny that we get in trouble in this place for calling out the lie rather than the person lying.
Order, 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 order. Can you please reflect on your words and withdraw your remarks?
Deputy Speaker, I've reflected on my words, and somebody needs to tell the truth in this House that the Prime Minister has lied.
Under the power given me by Standing Order number 43, I order the member to withdraw immediately from the House for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Wow.
I call Tom Randall.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
You know, I get it. It's a lot. Like, what are your initial thoughts on how they treated her in that meeting?
That was so disrespectful, which is why that other woman should be supporting her, that she's willing to call a spade a spade. But again, I suspect that because of the inefficiencies of black men, you know, being, you know, having the boldness and the audacity to do what she does, it makes them look even weaker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this woman is probably wanting her to shut up because it exposes them more than anything. I mean, it's just crazy that she would join in the belittling of the woman.
Yeah.
You know, that was complete disrespect.
Yeah. And you know, for me, like, obviously the Madam Speaker, I forget what role she called her, she didn't like that the black woman specifically, was speaking out against the Prime Minister.
Mm-hmm.
But the Prime Minister lied, right? So, I mean, it's not like she's doing something illegal, right? It's not like she's stepping outside of her role. They asked her to withdraw her words because they felt it was disrespect. You know, we know the UK has had a queen for a very long time, right? They believe in that feudal system where you don't question authority, right? And anybody with even a little bit of context would know that. But the African woman in this video is citing this as a weakness of the black woman.
Exactly. It's crazy. So bravery is now a weakness.
Yeah, it didn't make
this makes her a mammy. Like, because like Mammy is not speaking up for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Mammy is not assertive. Mammy is not defending anything but the rights of her oppressors.
Exactly. Mammy would be passive. Mammy would also agree with the Madam Speaker and say, hey, withdraw your words. Don't speak against the Prime Minister.
Don't talk too loud because Massa, you going to upset Massa. Massa going to be mad at you, gal. That's the fact. You know what I'm saying? Like, she is completely in complete opposition But sometimes women who can't articulate themselves and don't hold any space, and if they aren't seen, they don't want you to be seen either.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that this woman or person in this video who's calling the black woman out in this video somehow, I don't understand how this is a call out, but I do think that her idea of activism and the role women have is skewed. Because how would this be a modern day mammy? I mean, she literally used her role as a member of parliament to speak in defense of black people, right? To speak in defense of the lies of the prime minister, and because that had an effect on her people specifically. So it's like, it really didn't make a lot of sense to me. But again, outside of being a mammy, it doesn't make a lot of sense what she's saying about her.
None.
All right, let's keep listening. Again, she sounds ridiculous. I think people who use mammy in the modern day don't have a real historical grasp on what a mammy is in the first place. And that's probably why they abuse the terminology. But let's continue.
So slightly later note, I hope that before the House adjourns today, we can...
Now, as you can see, she's in the House of Parliament, speaking on political issues affecting the UK. And look how they treated her. They literally kicked her out the house. What gets me, this is what black females are fighting for. This is who you're submitting to, just to be continually disregarded. I think these are one of the biggest issues in the black community. Black females are always willing to be the mammy for the white society. The big house in America, the House of Parliament, it's the same thing. We have here's a modern day mammy wanting to have a voice in the house. We have the modern day mammy wanting to be seen in the house. Why don't black females give this effort to the black community instead?
Hold on a second. Hang on a second. Okay, this is a dumb bitch. Okay, so society has black people and white people in it. So if she's does she realize how dumb she sounds? Saying she's wanting to be seen and heard. Mammies don't want to be seen and heard, dumb. Like, I almost really want to go and to this woman's channel and just go ham in her comment section. Because, like, does she not realize that a mammy could never have that kind of bravery? So what she's saying is that we don't live in a society where everyone is. Black people have their own society. You can think like that or whatever, but first of all, like, I don't even have black neighbors. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's dumb to act like we're going to be a nation within a nation. That doesn't even work. That does not work. You know, it doesn't even make sense. But black folks love to say that we're a nation within a nation. Okay, so where are you buying your gas from? Where does your electricity come from? Right? Where, you know, who holds your mortgage? Like, it's just and I think it is this mentality that we were taught to detach from who we are as Americans, as black Americans, because this is not really our home. We're African, you know, we need to be trying to worry about, you know, our own, we don't really have our own society.
Right. They're never going to accept you. So come back to Africa.
Right. Who don't want you? This is an American society. Like, saying that a woman who wants to be seen, heard, and have a voice is a mammy is crazy.
Yeah, and it shows that she has no context of mammies. Mammies literally push other women to not be seen, to not be heard, to just be there to propel black men up. So that would literally be the opposite of what a mammy would do.
You know what I think? I think that she believes that feminists are mammies. She has an issue with feminists.
But that comes from her lack of understanding, though, because again, that would not be the case as well, right? She's still wrong, right? Feminists are not mammies either. Feminists, a lot of the times, are anti-male. So how would they be mammies when the mammy is literally centered on propping up the patriarchal system, essentially? Like, that wouldn't be a mammy again. Like, so she's just incredibly wrong. But she keeps trying to and dumb. But she keeps trying to summarize a culture she doesn't understand. You know, I really truly think like she might be a very, very like a second or third gen African who doesn't know a lot because her mindset didn't make sense to me.
Well, I kind of see. Okay, she says remnant princess. She's probably a Hebrew Israelite. So more than likely she's with, because I'm not gonna diss all of them because they're not all bad or whatever, but like this is where her delusion is coming from. The whole commentary, the whole concept, because she's not describing a mammy, she's describing a feminist, and even
Yeah.
having an issue with the feminist, that is a male-centered thing.
Yeah.
Having a problem with a woman that prioritizes the needs of women and girls as a woman is a male-centered mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever I see Black women saying, "Oh, I'm not a feminist," what they're really saying is, "Please, Black men, don't hurt me and don't judge me." That's what they're saying. Because they've been browbeaten to think that sticking up for yourself, being assertive, having a mind of your own is bad. Is bad. And they've been browbeating by dumb men. Because typically, because my husband will tell you that I'm a feminist in every stretch of the imagination, but feminism to Black men, a lot of them, they're threatened by, because the feminist might have more education, she might have know how to articulate herself better, she might have more money than them, she might, for them, a lot of them are timid. When you see a man that has a problem, or a Black woman that has a problem with feminists, you are looking at a person that has a poor concept or view of the men.
Yeah.
Because a woman being able to flourish and sprout and thrive and be successful should not make you feel small, and that is the problem. This woman is she's got a problem with feminists.
Yeah.
So I don't know why she's saying modern day mammy, other than just using the word or whatever. Because if a Black woman is educated and she's into politics, she's you over there worried about in them white folks' business. You know what I'm saying? And so you know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is.
Open up a book, you in white folk business. Yeah.
You in white folks' business. You vote. Oh, you in white folks' business. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you went to college, you graduate. Oh, that's white folks. But you know what I'm saying? That's what that is.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it's frustrating hearing it, honestly. But yeah, the Mammy DSM does a really good job. I wish we could get into the full subject without people getting triggered. But
Who cares? Let's do it.
All right, let's break it down then. So we're going to step away from some of these delusional mindsets here, but we're going to get into one of the first ones that you talked about, which is the overt mammy, right? This is the most visible and vocal version of the archetype. Can you talk about how this presents like in society as well?
Absolutely. This overt mammy, this loud mouth, fist in the air, masculine, defender and protector of Black men. You know what this looks like? On social media, there's a popular I guess I don't know what to call, but she has like a Facebook page or something like that. She calls herself the Queen of Accountability. And she is the defender, and she calls herself the defender and protector of Black men.
Oh, wow.
Right. So wherever there is a space where Black women are, saying, hey, this is happening, we need to, fight femicide, we need to fight against, these men not marrying the women that have their children, women just advocating for women. She's there to say, well, you need to do this. You need to keep your legs closed, stop, not all men, that trope or whatever, and all this kind of stuff. She's in the space just to regulate. And she's basically, the overseer for Black men. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what she does. That's what it looks like. Did you ever see, it's, her name is Janae DeSalle. And she is all over Facebook as the protector of, you know what? Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Let me find her. This is a classic overt mammy. But here's the thing. She's gotten caught lying a lot. Let me find this. Let me find her. I gotta sign in as my.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
You called her the loud mouth. She's the loud with her love for Black men, unwavering in her defense, unapologetically loyal to the point of blindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
The overt mammies described in your book.
Man. Okay, so let me go into. Let me see if she's still over here on Mammy Mountain. Of course, I'm sure she is. Now, mind you, she's never married. Often having to like beg for money and stuff like that. Um, she typically doxes black women if they argue with black men, as well as that other lady that I was talking about. Let me see if I can find. Let me find one of her old pages. She's talking about a bunch of Haitian stuff over here. I don't want
Yeah,
to weed
there's a
through it.
lot going on because yeah, they're deporting black immigrants too. So there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot going
Yeah.
on with that too.
Okay, so how can I share my screen?
Just share it like
Oh, okay. It does work like
yeah, like StreamYard. That was the same way. And then
okay.
I should see it once you're sharing it, and I can. There you go.
Okay. So here's her sign. We need our black men. Okay.
Oh my God.
All right. You see what her name is? The black man's keeper. Okay. Just really think about it. She's keeping black men. And black men love this, right? But it's dumb to even encourage or support this as a man because she believes that you're fucking dumb and that you're weak.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So she says we need black men, right? But she says she's also his keeper. So it sounds like he needs you. So let's scroll. Okay.
Oh,
Two pregnant and he's the father of both, right? And she's supportive of this, right?
What hold on. What is with these mammies and suddenly being open to like a polygamist? Is that their attachment to the Hebrew nakers that's causing that?
You gotta remember, mammies typically are side chicks because the man doesn't need the other woman except unless you were doing your job right. I wouldn't have to be his side chick. So because they typically have been side chicks most of their experience with men, polygamy is just, the way that they make it wholesome.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't condone men hitting women, but some women need their asses choke slammed.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary because like she could very well have daughters. And imagine hearing that from your parent and then
Let's see what the comment sections say.
Oh God. This is great.
And I'm sure you're going to find mostly Hebrew Israelite men. They're gonna love this. No man is gonna come in there, and this is where Taz gets into it with these hoes because he would go in his comment section and you sound like a stupid bitch, right? And then all the women are like, oh my God, did you call a woman a bitch? Did you know what I mean? Like it's just weird. So here we go. Some of these studs love studs ID love crossface. So they're joking about beating women. Look, this is all about joking about beating women. I remember my mama always looked at me and saying, son, keep your hands off women. But in the same conversation, we'll look over at my sis and tell her, don't you ever hit a man unless you want a man to hit you. That's not too much of a bad comment, but most of them, this one, the pedigree or the cripple or crossface flying headbutt. They're laughing. And most of these, if you look at the names, they're Hebrew Israelites. Religious men tend to thrive on domestic violence. You look at her friends list over here, you see they're mostly Israelites.
Yep, they have
looking at the name.
The Alis and names, definitely.
Yeah. And so mental health matters. Notice she puts the highlight on men, right? Because only their mental health matters. Don't let a woman with no husband tell you how to marry, right? Now she's a woman with no husband.
Oh Lord.
She's a woman with no husband. I'm gonna tell you some tea on her too. We'll just go through her page. Yeah, I don't know. That's just something about some rap or whatever. But men, you promised your significant other that you was going to take her to the restaurant of her choice. You arrive at the location, go in and take a seat. You sit down, open the menu, and this is what you see, what you do. This is just one of those. Most women aren't, going to go to Capitol Grill if they're dating Dusties. Anyway, because what is she going to get? Bread and water. Let me see.
I'm trying to understand why they put these provoking posts up. It doesn't make any sense. Those provocative, like, oh, will you make a black man take you out to dinner? Like,
yeah.
I just.
So, I feel like men should white. Oh, okay. This is just something, some weird. She's known for a lot of posts where she says, stuff like, women should, let me see. Oh, she's changed up a little bit. She usually tries to look like a Muslim woman. Let me see. I'm trying to find some of her her posts where she always like puts these sign up saying that, you know, women should pay the bills and all this kind of stuff. But I'm not her friend, so I can't see the whole page anymore. Let me see if she's got let me see. Pages, maybe. No, you know what, she probably got me blocked because I used to go in on her.
Yeah, maybe. Honestly, a lot of these like YouTube streamers have crossed over, like, or at least have tried to.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let me see. I ain't just about war, baby. Princess bring a sense of peace too, baby. If you want to rotate with the queen, it's a beautiful thing when I summon your dreams. This girl has been on social media defending and protecting black men since at least 2015 that I know. And she still ain't married. Let me tell you what she did. She came into our Facebook group, and there was a conversation where she was basically saying that women should pay half the bills and all this kind of shit, right? And so she started arguing with us, and she was like, we're not, y'all cannot possibly be married women, so I'm not going to argue with you, even though she's not married. And we were like, yeah, we are married, right? And so she said, well, good, let me inbox your husband then. And you know Beverly, she'd be on a lot of different panels. You know her, right, Bev? She's always like dancing and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I do know her. Yep.
Okay, so she actually told Bev, I will inbox your husband to become your sister wife, and proceeded to do just that.
That is so crazy.
Went into that woman, and that's what she would do. She would message women's husband saying that, you know, you need to humble your wife. You should take another wife. You're a man. You can do what you want to do. You know, stuff like, I mean, it was just, she was just on some weirdo stuff, girl. What else did she do? Now, she is an ex-gang member.
Ex-gang member?
Yes, she's an ex-gang member. She also,
like too much hood boogerness.
Yeah, so she was a gang member. She got caught, I think, about 3 years ago, where she would like post pictures of food and stuff and be like, how would you treat me if I prepared this? She would act like she prepared the meals, and come to find out she stole the plate from a black man's page that was building his, like, girl, it was. And then she lied about getting her house broken into. She'd have been exposed 100 times, but because she's always kissing their ass, it doesn't matter. But like, she's an overt defender of black men.
Jesus Christ.
I ain't defending nobody but my husband, my son, or someone that I know, like, you know, if I know, you know what I'm saying? But like, these men are not defendable.
They defend.
They're not defending. They don't defend women.
Yeah. It's always random men online, P. Diddy. You know, I have a clip here of someone, she's talking about how R. Kelly's going to become and they use your clip in it. It was kind of funny.
They use my clip in it?
Your Mammy Mountain song.
Who did?
I'm gonna play it for you, and then you can.
Oh, I'm gonna strike the channel.
Yeah, so you can zap them after. But they literally played this little clip, and then they had your Mammy Mountain song at the end. But I was literally thinking, like, this is a great example of a mammy, where she believed that R. Kelly in prison would be preaching to men and saving them because he was a predator. He would be able to save them. So let me play this really quickly. If you want me to stop at the Mammy song, we can do that too. Because
Hey, R. Kelly let it go, but let me tell you about this though. R. Kelly got to turn his life he got to turn it all away and go to God.
All the way.
All the way. And do it for God. And then that's when God is going to release him.
Okay.
And then when he do that, God is going to release him. And
She
he's
might
going
have
to be
took
all
this straight
right.
from my
And God going to
video.
forgive him. And he's going to be able to.
Did she?
Yeah, because I did this clip with her saying that, and I used the Mammy Mountain mic in that. So I'm going
Probably
to
was.
actually, I'm gonna tell her, but I'm gonna let her know that I'm gonna strike her channel.
Do you mind if I keep playing it, or do you want
Yeah,
me?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because I don't want to like play them copyrighting your channel. Honestly, when I saw it, I was like, I know now. It said nobody can play that Mammy Mountain song, but it was the first time I had seen it, so I didn't know if it was somebody you knew. Nonetheless,
walk.
Oh,
He's not gonna do that whole bid when when God changed him up. He's in there now. He's gonna be saving souls if he do it the right way and go to God with a sincere heart. You get it? And a lot of people don't like that, but it's honesty and it's real. I don't lie, and at the end of the day, I can't lie. Like I wouldn't have talked to R. Kelly when I was young. I got raped at a young age. I was messing with older niggas at a young age that was buying me stuff, and this is happening a lot in the black community.
Hell yeah.
Had R. Kelly stopped giving them money, y'all know how that would have played out.
Akbar is the biggest mammy I have ever encountered. This woman, do you know how many clips I have in my phone of her?
oh, and it just the whole wrapping it up in like a spiritual, like, oh, he's gonna save those men. It really grinds my gears because I'm just like, how is this your rationale? Like, this makes zero sense.
I have no idea.
Oh Lord. Star said, who is using Mammy Mountain? Absolutely not. Order. Stars, that's today when I was looking at my streams and like the recommended videos, that was the first time I saw it. And I was like, wait, that was giving out the Mammy Mountain song?
Nope.
And I'm not getting it out.
But you know what? I might just I'm gonna tell her.
Yeah.
But what I'll do is I'll give her the option. She's either gonna split the revenue with me, or she's gonna get a strike.
Yeah, because honestly, I think it's so specific to like the way you spoke about mammies in the book and everything. Like,
whose channel is? Send me this video so I can go straight. Because, like, girl, no, you will not be. You will not be.
Yeah,
who is that?
I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Okay.
Just so they can't be over here like, ooh, look at you. Hold on. Because they be watching every show.
Every show.
Let me
fucking weirdos.
Yeah, let me go over here and can I? Oh no, that's your Patreon. Let me see here. I'm going to email you back in one of the emails that we've talked before. So let me.
Okay.
Because I also was like, how did this lady find you? Here we go. Wait, is that the right one? No, it's not the right one. All right, so I just sent it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, it's like I'm listening to this one here, and she's talking about R. Kelly, but I've heard people say like verbatim the exact same things about Diddy.
Yeah.
And like even though Diddy is like very clearly guilty, right? Like we see everything that's going on with him, they're still carrying over that same like Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, all of that mentality into like how they talk about this stuff. So like Diddy was like being attacked because he was a successful black man, and I don't see it that way. Like I don't.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the 2 chapters I was going to cover. I didn't want to I know you didn't want us to cover too much of it, but I did mention I wanted to do like a book club. Sort of maybe like with you popping in a few times, that would be like behind the members tab.
Sure.
But otherwise, like, are you going to like break the book out on your channel and like
Yep.
sort of give people
I
time
am.
to challenge it and stuff like that too?
I am actually curating content specifically for the book.
Good.
Because I'm already started on the second part of it. So, because you know how like once it's done, like damn, I forgot about this, I forgot this, I forgot that. So it's gonna be expanded.
Oh, you know what? I know who the person is in that's that channel. I'm gonna text you right now.
Okay.
It literally just came to my mind after I saw the name. But yeah, like I think you should take the time too, like to give people a chance to challenge the book too, because there's so much about it that's like ingrained into our current culture, and there's so many women and men who want to deny a lot of this. Like even like the black man out of the home theory, right? Like how so much of that plays into like how women, especially black women, frame their belief systems, like
Yeah, like off of a fucking lie.
a complete lie that we know actually that same woman that they claim is the one that went against black men, she went and advocated for it to be abolished as a rule essentially. So I mean it's just like common sense,
right?
But I have your links in the description.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate you.
Yes, this was like it's a really good book. I just feel like you trigger people with the word mammy. And I'm not saying you specifically, but I'm saying anybody who dares to use that terminology. People get extremely triggered and upset about it, and they want to take it back to like the historical part and deny everything that we're saying about men today, right? I mean, we have the overt mammy you talk about where she's more subtle, right? She doesn't wave and shout at the rooftops, but she's just as committed to black men, right? She's willing to be submissive and soft-spoken, even if it means the detriment to her children and to her family, right? To her femininity and stuff like that. Like you go really in depth in it. So
I try to. Yeah, let's do this again.
Yes.
And like maybe we could you pick a chapter and we could just kind of go from there.
Yes, we will. You know, I'm thinking the malignant mammy, and I had a lot of video for that today, but like because we've already been on here almost 3 hours, I'm like this would be too much. But that's the chapter I really want to cover because I have so much crime content on the malignant mammy and kind of how they play out. So yeah, hopefully we're able to like link up for that next stream and like schedule it for soon. I work in a prison. I don't know if you saw that, but like I come home every day and I'm like exhausted. So the weekend is the best. Yeah, everyone says that. They're like, why the hell do you work in a prison? I'm like, well, somebody has to like control these bandits, right? Or at least try to.
Exactly.
So thank you for joining me here today. I appreciate you. All
no
right.
problem. Thank you.
Any
See you guys later.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you have any final thoughts on the book or anything that you want to share?
Oh, just like look, it literally is not an attack. It's it literally is to promote healing and correction and to provoke thought. It's not meant to disrespect. It's not even an anti-male book. It's just literally highlighting some of the thought process, some of the cultural norms that do not serve you as a woman.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, and hopefully we can have more conversations just like this about what's really going on in the culture. So
yeah, well, I want to say too, Takeen, that actually Ty's Hot Mess History actually clarified that through talking with Taz and I. The person that came to the platform, I really hate that everyone, especially if they've been in our space, that they like to credit other people with what we've actually done.
Yeah.
No one had the understanding about what actually happened as far as bringing up the historical documents. The fact that because you rarely hear anyone besides myself or Taz say that welfare, this situation happening with welfare was only for a couple of years
Yeah.
in a few states, and it did not affect everyone. That comes directly from Taz's platform. So
Yep, and then you have like Cynthia and others like
Yep.
talking about those. So yeah, definitely. And I try to give as much credit as I can too. So
No, I know. Look, I get it. It's really annoying though, because like even like, and Sin will tell you, like even like with the Moynihan report and stuff like that, Taz broke all that stuff down first. And then everyone kind of followed and, just kind of like, took pieces of what he put together and claimed it as their own. And it's just not cool.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
But that's why I'm like trying to take the time to really put this book out there, make sure people know what's really being said. It distinguished the different types of mammies because you do a really good job of breaking it down. So
Thank
I'm
you.
excited for the next conversation, honestly.
Yes, I appreciate it. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Thank you, Nyla. Thanks for joining us here today. And make sure, guys, I have the descriptions of Nyla's book, her original copy and the autographed copy. So if you guys want any of those, they will be in my description. Make sure you guys check it out. It has been really nice talking to Nyla because like I told you guys, this book, to me, I feel like really opens that door of the conversation of what's going on in the community. Right? We're no longer gaslighting women. And I think Nyla, as a married woman, does a really good job, too, of, like, making sure people don't try to turn this into, like, an anti-male context. But she does a really good job, too. And, I almost wish I was able to do this stream earlier so we can really break it down. But she does a great job of talking about where the male-identified thinking becomes a detriment to women and children. And that's the big part of how I will be covering this in a crime-related sense, and sort of getting into the different types of mammies. We got into the overt mammy a little bit today. But there's the covert mammy, there's the malignant mammy, there's the financial mammy, which comes up a lot in these body cams where you see women taking on all the financial responsibility and then it becomes a negative and violent and volatile situation as well. So thank you so much, Nyla, for coming up here, and the Blue Heart Gang for joining me for the stream. I am going to take you guys out with some music and then let you go for the night. This has been a great stream, honestly. My plan was to stay up here for an hour, but after I started getting into it, talking to Nyla about it, hearing everyone's different perspective on this, I couldn't stop the conversation. So hopefully I didn't keep you guys for too late, but I will send you guys off with some music. I'm also going to go ahead and throw into my description box how you guys can actually find Miss Nyla Says, because she has several channels now where she's covering true crime. She's covering the case of Nesto and his little mammy, right? She covers infamous Sylvia and how she has used her platform, her existence, her connection to other entities to be a mammy and to be volatile towards other women. She does a really good job of encompassing the whole idea of a mammy on her channel. And her husband, Taz, is no short of that. He defined a mammy before we were calling everyone mammies as well. So make sure you guys check that out. I'll send you off with some music, and I will see you on the next one. All right, thanks, guys.
Florabella on my screen, her smile it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene, in the morning or the night. Recipes and good vibes flow, every video a gem. Her confidence it grows and grows, we're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows, she's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong, she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Let's Lots of peeps and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. Every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong, she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all